Huh, it's kind of interesting how that works. And that's with anything really, whether it's YouTube or a hobby or anything like that. Mm.
I think the biggest thing is like um, when you step away from something, um, especially if you're getting frustrated with it, when you step away from it for a little bit, it's just it's easier when you get back to it. You know.
Yeah,
Are you guys going trick or treating this year?
I haven't since
Yes,
like I was in grade school, maybe. That was ages ago.
I have a horde. I have a horde that I'll be bringing with me. Yes.
Yeah. So I got me a cheap Christmas suit, like bought it from Walmart, right? It looks like a little suit or whatever. And then I'll dress up like Frankenstein. So it'll be like a Frankenstein Christmas. I'm hoping it's a big hit this year.
Oh, it
I
looks
was thinking
gloomy out
about
there.
going. I was thinking about going as a zombie that got scared on a fireman's pole, so my kids can see me wherever I'm at. You know, I was gonna put lights around the pole so they can keep up with me.
Nice, man.
Yeah, because the older ones want to go do their own thing with their friends, you know, and then the little ones you got to watch like a hawk, so it can get hectic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. With the little ones that I have, I'll be off this year and home, so we'll make the best of it.
Do you make your own costumes?
Well, I bought that like I said, I bought that little cheap suit from Walmart, like a Christmas suit, and then I'm gonna just kind of be Frankenstein, like paint my face green. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, but you don't like go out and buy the kit or nothing. You just kind of you see something and you mix and match to make yours, right?
Oh
Is that
yeah,
what
yeah,
you're saying?
yeah, yeah.
I love
I've
making my own costume.
yeah, I've yet to. I always wanted to dress up like Santa Claus on Halloween, but I haven't done it yet. I don't want to spend any money on a Santa Claus suit. I think that's kind of weird.
Yeah, you got to be
Maybe I'll
kind of
be the.
weird guy. You just got to kind of be a weird guy to want kids to sit on your lap all day.
Yeah, it's kind of suspect. I I guess a hustle is a hustle. You gotta respect the game.
Speaking of hustling, this has nothing to do with hustling. Nathan, how's your computer doing? Is it holding up so far?
Yeah, no, not really. It's all right. It's the same as it was. It's the same computer. Just had a hard drive failure. So what that meant was I've had to reinstall Windows, and yes, it was all backed up, but it's just been very difficult. Anyway,
Those lions, I guess that was some
mm.
private zoo or something like that.
Yeah, I
You
took the
took the
kids
family.
to the safari park. Yeah,
Pretty cool, man. Looked like you had some albino lions or something.
No, I'll talk all about the lions once I'm done. All I'm doing at the moment is setting up scenes in OBS, and it is going to take me a long time. There's probably no way we're going to be on time. That's why I haven't scheduled the show yet. I will, but it's just going to take me a long time.
Well, moving on. Hey, Brian, what's going on, man?
I can't talk at the moment. I won't get to talk for a few minutes. Just listening in, John. Sorry. I'm doing stuff here. I'll be making noise. So I just won't be no point in trying to do stuff and talk at the same time. Anyway, give me a few minutes. I'll be back to you.
Alrighty then. Because I feel like something happened after I stopped watching QE shows Saturday, and like I don't know what it is, but I know it was probably hilarious. So I'm just interested to see what it was.
I don't. Well, we just went through the whole thing with the Black Swan or with the Moon Shadow. Went through that. There was one of the ballers was there, and he had to go trying to explain it on the ball kind of stuff, or trying to give an explanation. Well, we were listening to.
I'm sorry, Brian. I didn't hear what your last statement you said. I'm sorry.
It was what it was is there was one of the ballers. He was trying to explain, trying to show how the moon is closer to Earth than the sun, which is not which he couldn't really do, with the practice he was using. So it didn't explain it for them. If you understand, there was no, they weren't, it didn't explain the situation for them. The problem is that the shadow from the moon for the moon is exactly the same as the shadow from the sun. There was no difference.
Yeah,
So
it destroys the light.
Well, the logic goes out the window because the reasoning for behind it goes out the window. You're not going to. Excuse me.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Big and far away or close and local? Well, we can't tell the difference. Therefore, what then? Yeah.
Well, yeah,
you know what I mean?
You could claim both of them are big and far away, or the moon is big and far away, and the sun is close and local, or they're both close and local. You can go in several directions with it. For a globe, one of them has to be big and far away. You know what I mean? Especially the sun. It's the sun has to be big and far away because that whole model is built on that. So he was trying to. I think Roger said he might be in Discord at the moment. He was trying to use celestial navigation and some of the corrections for the moon to kind of make it seem like the moon is closer to us than the sun, but like it was only a correction that would shorten up the distance between the observer and the GP of the moon, but that doesn't make the moon closer. Just that the distance between its GP and the observer is closer than it looks or whatever when you're taking an angle based on its lower limb.
He had to take off a little bit. He said he'll be back later.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is I'm pretty much I'm representing his argument, which is basically what he said. But like the correction you make for the lower limb, let's say you're taking an angle to the lower limb of the moon, you correct that for the center, right? Because you're not dealing with the center, you make a correction for the center, but you do corrections for the sun too, but because you're using the lower limb of the sun often as well. But that doesn't change. Like the problem is that doesn't. It only changes your distance to its GP. It doesn't change its height above the Earth or its distance from the Earth. That doesn't change that.
Hey, Brian. So, in order for him to get around the bad moon shadow logic, or the failure in logic, He's willing to invoke an angle from a flat plane having parallel rays meeting at the center of a sphere, and then go to celestial navigation and using the celestial sphere with the flat plane in the middle to say that that's somehow going to help him. I don't get that, man. Just don't get it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about it. Like, there's arguments within that argument that we could make I could have made for our purpose. Do you know what I mean? But even at that, even if I left all that go, and Adam did too. Adam had back to and fro with him. Like it doesn't change the situation with the bad moon shadow. No matter what you do, doesn't prove a distance to the celestial to the moon. It doesn't prove its distance is closer or further or anything. You know what I mean? It doesn't do all that. It doesn't change anything. And let's just say the moon is closer than the sun. That still doesn't change the problem. That still doesn't change the problem they have with the bad moon shadow, if you understand what I mean. Like the whole ethos is built on, the whole ethos is built on the premise that the sun gives us these shadows because we're receiving parallel light from it because it's really big, but far away. So it doesn't look really big. But the problem is that the full moon gives us the exact same shadows. The logic goes out the window. You know what I mean? But it wasn't logic in the first place because it was only a fixer because he had to use an elevation angle to measure the distance between Alexandria and Cyan. That's a horizontal. So if you go to the shadows then and try and make it work on a globe, ignoring the elevation angle, I mean, and you're relying on the sun being big and far away, giving you parallel light to give you those shadows. Well, a full moon, and mathematically within their model, because I checked it out, because Rob Durham had checked it out, and he pointed out to me that within their model, mathematically, there's absolutely no difference. That they have divergent light from the moon hitting their globe, giving them the exact same shadow as the almost parallel light from the sun. So, I mean, someone within their own model, someone in history spotted this problem and put their moon at a certain distance, the right distance and size to give them those shadows. But then it all goes out the window because the whole singular claim is that the sun is supposed to give us almost parallel light to a globe, and that explains the shadows. But if the moon is doing the same thing, then there's no, you can't base that on it. Then you understand what I mean?
It's all based on the radius. So the Black Swan destroys the claim in the beginning. I put 2 slides in the Master B. Take a look at it.
What do you mean by it's all based on the radius?
That whole parallax of the moon is all, and it's all because all the references are from the center of Earth, and the observer is not in the center of Earth. So there's a 3959, almost 4,000 mile difference, which is causing the parallax. So it's all having to do with having a radius to put you in the center of Earth. Well, there is no center of Earth because.
Sorry, go on.
Well, there is no center of Earth observation because it's always the surface. So they have to. Everything in the nautical almanac that you go to, the altitude adjustments for the sun, moon, and certain planets has to match it being taken from the center of Earth. It's not from the surface. So this is the 4,000 mile dilemma they got.
So you're saying that the corrections for if you're taking a site to the lower limb of the moon, the correction is a correction for to take into account a distance to the center of a globe.
Yeah, I got 2 slides in Master B right now. You can look at it.
Okay, thanks. Because I didn't know if there was a correction anyway, because you're using the lower limb. So I didn't know if there's just a correction off a flat plane.
They can use the upper limb, and the correction is different. They use the lower limb. Its correction is different. If my memory serves me right, it's a plus 30 minutes or a minus 30 minutes.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is, would you have to make those corrections over a flat plane?
It's coming from a flat plane because it's using the center of Earth.
Yeah, but I'm saying you take that. Yeah, but take that out of it. I'm talking about just from the surface in reality. We just still have to make corrections.
They got it so convoluted with the math because they're saying you're on the surface, but you got to assume you're in the center. And then the moon is so much closer in their paradigm. So the corrections for the moon have this very bizarre mathematical equation they give very little to the sun. Let me see if I can find more stuff on this. But basically, the planets in the sun are so incidental, they normally don't even go to the tables and correct for that. Oh, but the moon is so close, we have to do it for that. And then they do this mathematical equation, but then the whole thing rests upon us being on the globe with a radius value. Well, you haven't proven the radius value because of black swan, so it's over right there.
I see what you mean. So the correction is mostly just for the belief of a globe, as opposed to a correction is absolutely necessary.
Correct. And so I'm not the math guy. I think Adam, if he studied the math that goes with this, it's one of those little shenanigans that they're pulling.
Right, but that's still the ionosphere, ionosphere. We're dealing with angles from the surface, not from inside.
Right, but the book and the corrections are to make it coming from the inside, which is using a flat plane, never a curved surface. And since the black swan proves there is no radius value to their claims of an Earth of 3959, as you see in the image there in Master B, they have to assume there's a 4,000-mile difference between the observer at the center versus on top of the sphere. And that's the parallax issue. At 90 degrees, there is no parallax.
But
right, 90 degrees. But I'm not allowing them to even broach these subjects anymore. That's just my opinion on it. Yeah, they're not allowed to talk about it. They can talk about elevation.
Sorry, I got to step away for a while. I got to take care of something. I'll be back.
But yeah, like you're not getting past the elevation angle until you can, like I'm not moving from there.
Well, even with what Tent is saying, that doesn't change anything because it's only a GP position. It doesn't make the moon closer. Do you know what I mean? That correction that they have doesn't make the moon closer. It maybe mathematically tries to do that, but it doesn't give you a distance to the moon or the sun or anything else. Which, if you're talking about bad moon shadow, it doesn't change anything. The problem still exists for them. If you know what I mean. No, I understand your point of view. You're saying I'm not leaving them get past the elevation angle. I totally get that. But when it comes to the bad moon shadow, it's kind of such a bigger. It's taken in. That's the origin of their whole claim. It starts with, like, if they see this claim that we could be on a globe and be geocentric. No, we can only be on a globe and be heliocentric because they require those almost parallel light rays to explain the shadow.
For the angles of the shadows on Earth.
Yeah,
they need parallel light, and they need to be able to get an angle from see the parallel light. I mean, that's another problem for them, but it still doesn't fix. The initial thing is the angle.
But yeah. See, that's the thing about it. Eratosthenes started off with an elevation angle between Alexandria and Cyan, but the problem is that what's he doing there? He's measuring a horizontal distance. So the only way he could go anywhere after that was to the shadows and try and mathematically, bring everyone's attention to the shadows and say, well, the shadows would work on a globe if the sun was this big and this far away. Then we got this kind of parallel light. Then that would mean that the shadows would work. But the fact that the moon does the same thing takes all that away. So the origins of the globe, like the what's the mind? What's the word I'm looking for? Not the mindset. The reasoning that went into the creation of the globe. Let's just say for the accepting of the globe was the parallel light rays from the sun. But if the moon is giving us the same shadows, then it makes, and even within our model, they have to make it so this moon gives us the same shadows, the full moon. Then that there isn't the claim there. Then they can't make any claim then.
Right.
And the globe is taken away, kind of.
You know what this all reminds me of, and it's sort of the same thing as to use photons to calculate a rate of induction and then deny photons exist. You know what I mean? It's kind of, you use an angle to calculate distance and then deny that the baseline was straight for the angle too. You know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah, exactly. You have to use the thing you shouldn't be able to use to make the claim that doesn't make any sense, because you have to use the thing that you're supposed to be in opposition of. It's like a vicious circle.
Yeah, and a lot of people, like, I don't think I've heard one baller, anytime they approach the angle topic, it's either they use a flat baseline or they'll set an angle on top of a sphere. You know what I mean? So it's getting they're taking that square peg and they are throwing it at that round hole as fast as they can and as hard as they can, but it's not working for them.
Yeah, no, I understand. You're correct, because every time anything has to be done concerning an elevation angle, they must start off with a tangent, right? Tangent plane, right? That's touching their claim surface at one point, and then bring it to the center, which is an equatorial plane in the center of their sphere. This is a constant thing that they must do, which means that they're always only measuring a horizontal. But they want to deny that they're measuring the horizontal at the surface. They're trying to make it that they're measuring just an angle from the center. You know what I mean? They're trying to deny the surface measurement, which is the only measurement. There is no measurement from the center.
They can't get dip correction. That's out of their pay grade too, because that's an angle between eye level and surface level. If you're curving eye level and surface level, because you're curving level now, you only have one straight line that you can claim, and that's your tangent. And if you're going to refract that too, you're done. Like, I mean, even with one straight line, you don't have an angle. You have one straight line. That's it. You know. So, yeah, it's madness.
Hello.
Hi guys. Even when you point out like that, whatever way they're doing it or describing it, they're having to use a flat, straight baseline, whether it's a a straight
transform and roll out.
Yeah.
All right, one deck, you're out of control with the roboting.
Horizontal line can be cut.
All right, guys. Sorry about that.
Hey, Richard. Sorry, he's coming here. Could you let him know?
Yeah, he got it figured out. Except he couldn't stop the roboting once he's roboting, right? Like, it comes in delayed, so I had to stop him.
Well, the thing is with the baseline on the when they're claiming a tangent, right? The tangent is not the baseline. That would be the eye level. You'd be flipping it upside down for that claim, and your eye level would be the baseline, and then you'd be drawing a line, creating a different triangle. You know what I'm saying? So, if you got a flat level there, that's a problem if you're claiming level is curved.
Well, the dip correction, they have to correct from a claimed refracted horizon, because the correction will never work if they're trying to use their geometric. If they were trying to correct for a geometric horizon, it doesn't work. It only works from a refracted horizon, when I say it works, the correction, it only, even the correction, even what they're claiming as a refracted horizon, only almost works. It's always a little bit more. their corrections are always a little bit more than what in reality.
No, they don't have an angle to a refracted horizon. They can't.
I know. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any logical sense.
If one curved line and one straight line is not an angle, two curved lines are definitely not an angle.
Well, the thing about this is that they have a straight line from the eye line to the horizon, but the horizon they're claiming to use is a consistently refracted position, according to them, that's been refracted at different. You can't use refraction. You can't do a
straight line do they have?
Well, they have the straight line from the eye line to the horizon. That's a straight line.
It's a fictitious horizontal.
No, hold on. What other line? One line is not an angle. You're talking about a dip angle, right?
Yeah, but they have to see what they're doing is the straight line from the eye line to the horizon, and then the straight line from the eye line to the celestial body, right? That's two lines, and they correct the line to the horizon up to 90 degrees.
Well, hold on, but the correction is not to the celestial body. The correction is to a horizontal, so they can get a 90 for the basis of their measurement.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but that's the point. They correct up from the horizon. Yeah, but that's the point. Like they're correcting up from the horizon to the eye line.
No, there is no horizontal on a sphere.
Yeah, but the eye line will be a horizontal when they correct it up from their. Do you understand? Like the dip correction doesn't work for them.
You're giving them but that's not true.
I'm not giving it to them. I'm not giving it to them. Oh, I'm not. You have to listen to me. I'm not when they correct.
Are we going to start the show?
No, not yet.
No, I'm not quite ready. Sorry, Brian. I'm still setting up Discord. It's just taking me an absolute eternity. I'm really sorry.
Okay.
John, how long have I been talking about dip correction? Several years. Don't be telling me I'm giving them a horizontal. I'm not giving them a horizontal. They are using a refracted horizon within their claim that's almost exactly in the same position as the actual horizon, and they're correcting up from that to the eye line. They're not using their geometric horizon because the correction won't work.
Eye line. What's eye line? You're saying correcting up to your eye line. What is your eye line? Is that the tangent?
No, that's going to be a horizontal at the eye.
That's your eye level, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're letting them have a horizontal. You shouldn't do that.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not, because you're focusing on that instead of focusing on the dip correction. I'm not allowing them to have it.
They can't talk about dip correction is my point. What are you letting them even talk about dip correction? Because they only got one line that they're claiming is straight.
John, go onto my channel and count the amount of videos I've made on dip correction. I know it doesn't work for them.
One line.
I mean, if there's anyone in the world, you cannot land that at my doorstep. But if everyone in the world, I'm the one person you can't land that attack on.
They're only claiming one straight line is what I've heard from you so far.
No, they're not. They're claiming two. They're hijacking reality. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to hijack reality and use a claimed refracted horizon instead of in place of the real horizon, and because they can't use their geometric horizon because the dip correction won't work. They can't use their.
It doesn't matter how much they refract it or do what. It does not matter.
I know that,
they
John.
Cannot utilize eye level. They cannot utilize eye level to get an angle
already. Damn it!
Hang on, Alvin. You're not helping matters. You're not helping matters. We don't need you telling me and him not to be not disagreeing. Unless you're trying to start an argument.
Yeah, man, back off.
John, you're trying to sell me something I already bought a couple of years ago. You're preaching to the converted.
Right, but they don't have two straight lines to make an angle.
They do have.
And if they're going to refract, what are the two straight lines then? Because when you say eye line, that is your eye level. And they're denying level into a straight line.
Yeah, but you have to understand what they're doing. In reality, the dip correction is from the horizon. Let's just say the correction. We can make the correction from the horizon up to the eye to create horizontal at the eye, right? We already have the other line to the celestial body, so that gives us the angle, right? What they're doing is trying to hijack reality and claim the horizon is a refracted position. That's what they're trying to do. They're just doing exactly the same thing as we do in reality, except for they're claiming the horizon is refracted, right? They're not using their geometric horizon. They're claiming to use a refracted horizon, which is complete and utter nonsense.
Well, yeah, it's nonsense, but it's still only one straight line. They don't have eye level to get that angle of correction to the eye line. They don't have that. They don't have an angle correction.
Are you talking about the dip? You're saying they don't have a dip correction?
Yeah, when they say that level is curving, they don't have dip correction anymore because they don't have another straight line.
You can't. I had this out some while ago. I made a video responding to something Charles Globart Matt said to Bev. And it's like, I was just pointing out in the video that, like, a tangent plane, if you're claiming that tangent is a horizontal, then it's not limited to one vertical. You know what I mean? They're trying to limit it to one vertical at only the point where the tangent touches the sphere. Will that be perpendicular? I can draw any other amounts of verticals to that to that horizontal, and they'll still be perpendicular. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, you're basically showing that they can't have diverging zeniths.
Well, yeah, they can't. This is the thing about it. Like, how can a tangent plane that's claimed to be a horizontal only have one line that's perpendicular to it? That's the load of rubbish. A horizontal, if it's a horizontal that's 5 miles long, right? Let's say a horizontal plane 5 miles long. At every mile you can place a vertical, and each one of those verticals will be perpendicular. But they need to claim that only one line will be perpendicular, and that's the point at where that tangent touches the sphere. Now, they can't have a horizontal on a sphere, and they can't have verticals on a sphere. It's all rubbish. They can have right angles being made with the tangent planes, but they have to then specify which one of those tangent planes is the horizontal. And because the rest of them can't be horizontal, with the exception of the one that's parallel to it at the other side of the sphere. Do you know what I mean? They can't have that. It doesn't work. But if they're going to claim that they have a horizontal tangent plane, then how did they justify one vertical being perpendicular to it? How come it can't have infinite verticals being perpendicular to it? That's mathematically paradoxical. It can't. It makes no sense. What they're claiming makes no sense mathematically.
Well, how can they have a tangent?
Well, this is the point I'm making. When you're saying what you said, say that again, can you please?
Where'd they get the tangent?
Yes, where they get, but this is the point. If they're claiming a tangent, they then have to claim you can only have one vertical that's perpendicular to it. That's a complete nonsense. That's not reality.
No. Where'd they get the tangent?
I know that point. But what I'm saying is addressing it.
Further. The tangent's the monkey in the room.
There's another monkey in the room. Yeah, I understand that. They need the sphere, but they're claiming a tangent, right? And they're claiming it's a horizontal, right?
Where do you get the tangent?
Yes, I understand that.
I can claim a whole bunch of stuff too.
Yeah, but you're walking all over the point I'm trying to make. Look, forget about it.
Now, the point is, you're begging the question for them. Where'd they get the tangent?
No, I'm pointing out a paradox. I'm pointing out a paradox within their claim.
No, their claim is rubbish.
I know it's rubbish, and that's what the paradox is pointing out.
No, the claim is rubbish before you get to the perpendicular off the tangent. The tangent's the issue. Where'd they get the tangent?
Yeah, I know. Where did they get any of it? I understand that. But I'm talking about their specific claim that they have a horizontal tangent. Because they need a tangent to mathematically make it work.
I know things too, but I just can't conjure them.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm working off of their mathematical claim.
That's the problem.
No, you're not. Their mathematics has A to B in that diagram you showed is surface level. They use level as a horizontal plane in their mathematics as well.
But see A and B in that diagram, John, right? They will claim that A and B, you can't have a vertical to that. They are claiming that you can only have a vertical to C. You understand?
Right, but in the mathematics, A to B is surface level. It's labeled as such within Earth curve mathematics. Everything. It's clearly labeled as level as a horizontal plane within the mathematics.
But not when they're dealing with a tangent. They're trying to claim that their only tangent is only touching the sphere at one point. So you can only have a vertical to that one point, which is complete rubbish. A horizontal can have any amount of verticals to
it. Aren't you getting that?
I think someone's off on a tangent.
I got it years ago. This is a new point I'm trying to point out, a new thing I'm trying to point out, and it's just not going down.
I got where you're going, but it's already dead before you get to the point off the deadness.
They're ignoring that.
I don't give a shit.
Tangents. Anyway, that's the point. I'm trying to take them apart with the tangent. I'm trying to point out something with their claim concerning tangents, or any claim concerning tangents. Tangents in general.
Can somebody else translate this for me? Does anyone else know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you're basically saying they can't even have it in the first place, and Brian is trying to explain after they have it. So you're killing it right away. Brian's killing it afterwards.
Yes.
No, exactly. No, I'm pointing out that their tangent. No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm pointing out that the claim of a tangent is impossible because you can't have only one vertical to a horizontal. That's the point.
No, the tangent's the problem, not the point.
No, it's impossible. Is my point. My point is the tangent is impossible. That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm trying to show apart. You're saying where do you get the tangent? That's what I'm pointing out is the problem.
No, what QE's saying is they're conjuring it up. There's nowhere to get it.
Yeah, but if I put two verticals to their tangent, they have to claim one of them is not a vertical. Do you understand the point? It's ridiculous. That's my point.
So if you put two verticals to a tangent that can exist, you can prove
they must
that
deny one of them.
You see where wrong. That was QE's point, what I just said.
Yeah, but my point is that their tangent is impossible mathematically because they have to deny every, with the exception of one vertical, they have to deny the existence of all other verticals to the same horizontal. You can't have two verticals to the same horizontal tangent. That's what. So they have to deny one of them.
They can't have a tangent.
Brian is
forget it. I'm going around the circle.
No, listen, Brian, you're killing it after you give them a tangent.
I'm not giving them the tangent. I'm not giving them the tangent.
Fine. I misspoke. After they claim a tangent, you use two verticals to destroy it. What QE and John are saying is that you don't even have to give it to them because it's conjured.
Yeah, but I can't stop them claiming a tangent. They can claim it if they like.
Well,
the point is that mathematically.
I know. Hang on.
I'm trying to explain it. Mathematically, it doesn't work. You can't have a tangent that's claimed to be. If they're claiming a horizontal, you can't claim a horizontal tangent, but then only have one vertical being allowed, being perpendicular to it. It mathematically doesn't work.
Hang on, John. If someone I'm talking to later today claims to be George Washington, I can mathematically prove he's not, or I could stop talking to him because he's just conjured it up.
Well, the thing is, right, I can claim anything. It doesn't have to be true, right? But the way a claim structure would work is you make the positive claim. Okay, unicorns exist. Does it make sense to try to debunk unicorn digestion? Or should I be showing you unicorn first?
I'm pointing out that that the claim of a tangent is impossible. That's what I'm trying to point out mathematically. In reality, it's impossible. That's my point. Not that I'm giving them a tangent. It's that I'm pointing out that their tangent claim is impossible mathematically.
Well, that's good.
How's
Can
it
you
going,
argue about it a
boys?
bit more?
Huh? Nah,
No.
I think we made the point.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm all right. Just I've got very little control over OBS, as I've to set it up from scratch. So I'm kind of doing that on the fly. But I wanted to have a live stream because the only way to test the computer is to have a live stream. So that's what I'm doing. But yeah, I'm just distracted with setting things up. So this show's going to be rubbish from my perspective, unless you guys keep it going, which I really
Rubbish.
hope
It
you
was
do.
just getting exciting.
Yeah, we was taking a break for everybody to really like get their mind right. You know, we didn't want to get out of hand. That's usually when you would have stepped in, so we had to back off a minute.
Well, you know, the reason we go this way is because there's so many contradictions in the globe claims that you could kill it before they even get to the claim. You could kill it during the claim, and you could kill it after the claim.
Well,
there are no globe claims. Globe can't claim anything.
There we go. See, you prove my point.
What you got is a bunch of retards. No swearing. What you got? You got a bunch of low people making shit up. Sorry, no swearing.
Well, yeah, that's why it's a crap argument. Look, how many times have you talked to a normie who just parrots things? And then, you know, we're heliocentric subject matter experts here. We start throwing their own claims at them and they deny their own claims. And you're laughing so hard because they just debunked themselves.
So how many times? I don't think you'd believe that number if I told you.
Oh, I would believe it because you've done it more than me, and I've done it enough to know that it's a lot.
Well, their entire worldview is a contradiction. It's like they just call it a paradox and then keep skipping along. You know, like, well, that's just a paradox. I'll figure it out later. Still sphere.
The impossible eclipse.
Well, yeah, it's a contradiction, but I still hold on to it.
Yeah, I looked up paradoxes and kind of started reading up on them a little bit, and they say it's a contradiction that holds true in reality.
Oh, that's a good one.
You almost got that out without laughing.
Almost. I can't believe that I used to read this stuff years ago, and it sounded silly then, but now it's even worse, you know?
Delivery.
Well, I'll be right back.
They're coming to get you.
Well, it's like when you start the conversation about Earth spinning, and then you tell them, well, where do I experience this? And they say, well, look at the sun. It's moving. So we're spinning. That's why the sun is moving. I go, well, could it be that the sun is moving and we're not moving? Could we be stationary and the sun could be moving?
Right.
Oh, no, that's not our model.
Did you want that diagram up, Brian? I managed to get it up if you actually wanted it. With A, B, C, Earth.
No, we'll put it up, but we're done with that.
Well, what do you want? Better late than never. What do you want?
We're not going to start that again, are we? I was in the middle of something.
Well, all I say is, according to our opposition, you can't have any more than one vertical to that horizontal plane.
According to our opposition.
According to our opposition, I want to discuss unicorn digestive systems.
No, I'm not. I'm taking away the unicorn. That's not. I'm Nathan,
I'm
do you
not
understand
saying
what
you are.
Nathan, do you? One second, Nathan. Do you understand my point with that tangent plane argument they make?
Absolutely not. I completely agree with your opponents. You're giving them a line that they don't have.
I'm not giving them. I'm taking away the tangent. Their claim, showing her that the claim is what did I say then?
I don't know, Brian. I wasn't paying that much attention.
Well, there you go. So you can't say then. You don't know. That's
I could.
my point. That's what I was trying to...
Look, I assure you, if I had been paying attention, I would give a very concise argument right now.
According to them, a tangent plane can only have one vertical perpendicular to it. Right? If they're claiming a tangent and are claiming it's a horizontal, which they always try and do for celestial navigation, they're claiming there's only one line that can be perpendicular to that. Well, that's mathematically impossible. A horizontal can have any amount of verticals perpendicular to it in reality. So the claim of a tangent plane is complete and utter nonsense. That's my point. If they're claiming a horizontal, which they have to do for celestial navigation and for surveying, they can't be claiming a tangent plane that's touching a sphere at one point, because you can have an infinite amount of verticals to that horizontal.
The only reason they do that is because they need light to be parallel, and they need the angle, which they can't have if the Earth's surface is used, if it's a sphere, because it curves. So they have to draw a tangent so they can have a angle that's represented at the center of the Earth with the equatorial equator. And the equatorial equator is not curved, but the surface of a globe is curved, and they can't get an angle. So they draw a tangent plane and say, well, light is coming in parallel, so here's congruent angles, one at the center, one at the surface. They go, yeah, but you just conjured that tangent plane. Your surface can't give you that.
Yeah, but the point is that 1 foot in front of the observer and 1 foot behind the observer, they're trying to claim is not a vertical to that same claimed horizontal. A horizontal can have infinite verticals. It can be of infinite size and have infinite amount of verticals being perpendicular to it. They are trying to claim, in reality, that they have created a tangent plane that only has one vertical that can be perpendicular to it. That's
right, but what's the purpose for the tangent plane?
I know the purpose. You don't have to tell me the purpose. I understand the purpose. My God, you hardly think I don't understand the purpose.
I'm not saying that.
I'm pointing out that in reality, a tangent plane is mathematically impossible.
Got it. When I said, what's the purpose? I'm not saying that to you. I'm saying that to a baller who would put that argument up. So you took it the wrong way. But I'm meaning this. What's the purpose of you drawing a tangent plane? Why can't you use the Earth's curved surface to get the angle? You know what's going to come out of their mouth? Because it's impossible.
Yeah.
Okay, it's over. So you're never using the Earth's surface.
No, what they're trying to do is what they always try to do, which is hijack reality. When I tried to make this, when I tried to broach this with a couple of them, but Charles Glover Math ignored it because he's not totally stupid. But the ones who did try to, only last night I tried it again on a comment on one of Flatside's videos, I put it to them. And all they're saying to me is, the tangent is horizontal, is perpendicular to plumb. It's like, that is completely missing the point. You know what I mean? Yeah, we know horizontal is perpendicular to plumb. We know plumb is perpendicular to horizontal. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, everybody knows that. That's their response. It's like, but horizontal is just perpendicular to plumb because they're trying to make horizontal be a local phenomenon because they're crazy. You know, it's like, yeah, everyone knows horizontal is perpendicular to plumb, but horizontal doesn't exist on your sphere, and neither is vertical. Because which one of your tangents is horizontal then? Show us the horizontal one. Do you know what I mean? Then we can do, but they can't do that. But they also can only have one vertical to that claimed horizontal tangent plane. Well, how can you have only one vertical to a horizontal? That's mathematically impossible.
You're killing it from the what's the words? Okay, let me just say it, normal conversation. You're killing it from the impossibility of what tangents are. And Huey and John were saying you can't even go there because you got an Earth's surface that's curved. You can't just conjure a tangent. You're going into what a tangent is and the impossibility of multiple verticals to that tangent. It's just coming at it from a different direction. They're not even going to give it to them.
Well, I'm only coming at it from a mathematical.
I know. I got it. Look, Huey, are you there still?
I don't think he is.
Okay.
I'll be honest.
Well, all right. So, for example, just the way some of these arguments go over time, you see a pattern. So you say either Earth is spinning or the stars are moving. Let's say you start there. All right. And so you got a baller on one side saying, no, the Earth is spinning. That's why you see the sun, moon, and stars turning. It's not really that they're turning. We're turning underneath it. And you say, okay, fine. Then let me demonstrate a drone hovering over a certain position over the Earth that you say is turning. How come when the drone goes off of the Earth, the stars are turning still? And they'll say, well, that Earth and atmosphere are spinning as one. You say, so is that your claim now, that the Earth and atmosphere are spinning as one? So you got gas behavior now you got to address, got a bunch of other things you got to address here. And then they give you an example. When you say, give me an example, and you say, well, for example, like when you're in a train or in a car. I say, oh, you mean an enclosed system. So now you're saying Earth and atmosphere are an enclosed system. And so how are you going into outer space with these rockets? How do you have gas pressure next to a vacuum? The more you go into this, the more everything they say looks more and more ridiculous. Everyone needs to figure out this pattern, because then it leads to, and this is what I wanted QE for, was, all right, so the airplane at the equator takes off. The Earth is spinning over 1,000 miles per hour. The airplane maybe gets to 180, 200 miles ground speed before it can lift off. And it's maybe going at 600 miles an hour once it's in the air at level flight. But the Earth, for the conservation of momentum that they're claiming, is at 1,000 miles. So you're going backwards 400 miles? Is that what's happening? So everything falls apart when you take a globe perspective to try to answer these basic questions. When really, if you just say, wow, the stars and the sun and the moon are moving, I'm stationary, you don't have any of those problems. Is this the Occam's razor where it's, look, you have none of these problems if you enclosed flat Earth. You have no gas pressure problems. You have none of these problems that I just gave in that argument that one bleeds into another. Whereas if you take a globe side, they all have to make up these things that it's no longer Occam's razor. It's like, wait a minute, now you're saying this, which goes against that. Now you're saying this, which goes against an open system, which you must have. But then the open system has gas pressure next to a vacuum, which is impossible. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, but they have to compartmentalize everything. So something that's they have to make one part work paradoxically to another part. Do you know what I mean? Even though a train is a completely false equivalence, they must use an enclosed train as some kind of an example. That, you know what I mean? You
right.
know, yeah.
But that's my whole point.
All they're doing is basically saying you're enclosed. You know
right, but that's my whole point. Their model, we're not enclosed. So all of a sudden they have to go to we're enclosed to make this part of their model try to make sense when their model says we're not enclosed.
Yeah, see, it's say what you need. It's say what you need to say at the time. That's the way they are. They have to just make whatever, regardless of whether that argument contradicts official claims
right.
or contradicts them or contradicts a different argument they made. They compartmentalize it away. If you understand.
No, that's exactly what I.
They don't make the connections.
No, you're doing a nice commentary on what I'm putting out as the problem. You're doing a good job of saying, yeah, but when you do that, they compartmentalize, they say whatever they need to say, even if it contradicts the first 2 points.
Well, you look at something like that. Let's take the tangent plane, as we've been talking about. What is it they're actually claiming? They're
Huey, now
claiming a
you come
horizontal,
alive.
right? They have to, right, and they have to claim that they're getting a dip correction from a refracted horizon. Now, that's what you're dealing with, right? So, I mean, they're destroying themselves by saying they're getting a dip from a refracted horizon. That's the end in everything. But they're still willing to say that. And just with a straight face, and be serious. They're actually being serious. They're not even trying to lie or be.
Yeah, but when you get them to define refraction, they don't even define refraction properly.
No, obviously they don't. But it's the very start of the whole process of celestial navigation is getting the angle, right? That's the basic start, right? Let's just say. Besides any small corrections you need to do when you take out the sextant originally, the basic start is getting the angle. And the first real world correction you're doing is the dip correction. And you do the dip correction, but they have to claim it's from a refracted position. How can you do a correction based on your height of eye from a refracted position?
You're 5 steps down the line. No, I'm sorry. You're going 5 steps down the line again. They can't even admit that the sextant exists.
Yeah.
You go 5 steps down the line. Like I said, man, because they have to have the horizon, right? You got a horizon mirror. How can you have a horizon on a sphere target?
They can't. See, there you go.
Especially with a circle of equal altitude, the radius line is not bent.
No. You didn't get it too. You got the same Brian disease.
No. I'm saying to you that the sextant, when it's working on Earth that's not a sphere, gives you a proper circle of equal altitude where you have a radius that's not bent. So it cannot ever work on a sphere because it's bent.
No, you can't get to the sphere. First step.
Right. No, I agree. I'm totally agreeing with you. That's why the sextant cannot work on a sphere. It can never work off a curved surface. That's been said from the beginning.
Yeah, you have to have a horizon with a sextant. Right? What's that mirror? What are those mirrors called again?
That's the Mariner sextant that has a horizon. But when you use a bubble sextant,
oh God!
Hang on. This is going to strengthen your argument. It validates the horizon with the Mariner sextant because it's what? Horizontal, all the way to the GP. That's why they use a spirit level. Unless someone wants to tell me a spirit level isn't horizontal.
Point is different.
I know it is. I know. I know it is. But to be definite in how many variety of sextants there are, like if you were on land, you could use a plumb bob and a protractor because you can get your 90, but you can't do that on a boat. So you use the 90 of the star over the horizon, and then you get the co-altitude to get your 90. It's just a different way of doing it, but it's the same thing.
How about one on a Ferris wheel?
I mean, you got to ask Mr. Bueller about that one.
The Ferris wheel sextant.
Yeah, Ferris Bueller. You got to ask him.
The Tilter World sextant.
It's his day off. Call him.
No matter what, you see, the thing about it is, no matter what sextant you're using, whether it's artificial horizon with a marine sextant on a boat, or above a sextant, right? They're always claiming a tangent. They're constantly at this complete nonsense. Right? And the tangent is not even touching the surface because it's a tangent they're claiming at the eye level. Right? Especially in an airplane. It's not even a tangent.
Hang on.
In a traditional sense.
Hang on. The horizon mirror in the Mariner sextant is where you bring the star or sun and you rock it on the horizon where the lower limb is barely kissing it. And when you can see it vertical, you say mark. So where's the tangent? Is it where the observer is or where the sun or star is at the horizon? Which tangent are they using?
No, tangent. You use the horizon.
Right.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna have to step out of this conversation, ain't I? And go get breakfast.
Yeah, but they're claiming to use a refracted horizon to get a dip angle form to create the tangent. This is the thing. There's so many steps into nonsense.
You guys are some comedians this morning.
You think that's where your hand is? No, that's not where your hand is. It's refracted.
You think that's air you're breathing right now?
Understand. Sorry, Nathan?
Thank you.
Think that's air you're breathing right now?
You guys should try to start a show or something. Oh, we are on a show. All right, carry on.
So how's things working technically, Nathan?
I'm nearly there. I've spent 3/4 of this live show saying nothing and just setting up scenes. But on the other hand, from the audience's perspective, looks pretty good. I got my Zoom, which looks good. I got my presentation for Skype, zooming in for videos. What else have I got? A webcam looking at a load of mess. That now works. My main screen. Got my chat if I need to. I'm getting there, man. I'm definitely getting there. This tomorrow might be a proper show.
Is that a comprehensive list? We want to know everything you got.
All right, I've got my DDR 6000 running at 52 mega transfers per second at 1.25 volts. My CPU is running stock, but at a 0.4 volt undervolt or an offset, minus 0.4 or minus 0.04 offset. The GPU is running at 2745 at 0.95 volts. And it's all running quite happily. The fans are all running constantly at 500 RPM. So it's basically a normal computer now instead of it trying to be passive. I've just given up on that and it's now just running normally. And that's about it. Yeah, it's okay. It's got 2 new hard drives in it that as of about 15 seconds ago set up to the point where I could like transfer this onto a mirror of the drive in case that happens again, which I'll ask my tech guy to help me do. So I've got like a copy should another drive fail again. And yeah, I'm quite happy. It's just as twitchy as it was. It's the same computer, so I'm in no way more confident that this was going to be more stable. But I'm happy it's working. I'm happy I've got every bit of software that I need to actually broadcast here, and it looks pretty. And I can shout out super chats, and I can just about get into Discord. And hopefully the sound settings will remain the same when I set up tomorrow. They probably won't, but we'll see.
I was being facetious.
I know you were, but I'm going to take the opportunity. You've asked me. It's the only thing on my brain at the moment. So if you're asking me to argue with Brian, I'm going to struggle. If you ask me to tell you what tech specifications I've currently got running, I can do that. Okay, carry on, as you were.
All right. Guess who's back?
Who?
Oh.
Wave is not a thing.
What?
With it?
I can't hand you a wave, but I can wave at you.
I'm lost. I don't know this person.
I'm not sure. We don't know who you're talking about.
Really?
Well, if it's not with it, then I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It is shits at 40.
Oh, it's with it. All right.
What is it? A wave is not a thing. You guys.
Oh, a wave.
Rooms this morning.
A wave is not a thing. I didn't know what you were saying with your Elmer Fudd voice.
With your Elmer Fudd voice. A wave is not a thing.
Well, I know surfers that would disagree.
What a clown. Yeah, I heard him. Happy days, man. Happy days.
So the guy who wants a wave to be something says it's not a thing.
Yes.
That's par for the course.
It's a problem with nouns and verbs.
Nouns, they're names for stuff. Like when we say it's not a concrete noun, As in, it's not a concrete thing that you can name, like a tree. So what's the problem with... We'll start there. You said nouns and verbs, did you say? Like doing words?
Yeah, we don't have to go too far into this. It's just that he misunderstands nouns and verbs. That's the level that we're at here.
I was intrigued. I mean, when you came to me with basic science, I looked at you like, well, 5th grade? I don't remember any of this. So basic English, it's no different, right? That's the level we're at when we get to our mid-40s for me. You know, suddenly you're studying basic science and basic English at a 5th grade level, going, wow, aren't we smart?
Yeah, get ready. It's round 200 from Numpty Dipshits. Sorry, no swearing.
Is this an attempt to cement an argument?
No, we're not talking about concrete nouns.
Kiwi, are you alluding to you heard some stuff in the past 2 days?
Yes.
That requires you to respond to it.
I don't need to respond to anything. It's just, it's a respawning. What I heard yesterday was some stupid, very stupid things. What I want is some of their idiot followers to parrot, but they can't parrot it because it's so ambiguous and stupid. They can't do it, so no one can do it. But I'd just like to hear that one time, just out on the economy, and just somebody come up to me with that ambiguous, nonsensical horse shit. No swearing.
Are you saying that even a parrot wouldn't repeat this stuff?
No, it's too stupid. It sounds sciencey, but it's like, this is what it's exactly like. I've said this many times. It's like Elmer Fudd. Now we got a bunch of Elmer Fudds, by the way, but I digress. It's like Elmer Fudd giving the keynote address at a metabolic pathway convention. But the audience is so stupid, they can't catch on to it because the guys that the Elmer Fudds that are talking, they make it sound at least a little, just a tiny bit like technical or sciencey. It's an absolute the position that I heard yesterday is I couldn't believe it. Well, I can't.
What is the position? What is the position besides wave is not a thing?
Oh God. Yeah, just the normal stuff. It's just they're just regurgitating it, you know, after we killed it like 35, 45 times. I really don't know what it is because they really didn't say anything. I didn't get it. It was disconnected drivel. You'd have to listen to it.
Speaking of disconnected drivel, sorry to interrupt.
Kind of like using a particle accelerator to prove it's not a particle.
That wasn't brought up. No, oh, wait a second. Yes, it was.
I was listening into Ballbusters, and it got to the Arwinian paradox. I'm like, oh, well, you know, Arwin's there. No harm. He'll get there. And it took him about 5 minutes. I mean, he did get there, don't get me wrong. Hey, Arwin, to go through the Arwinian paradox. But it struck me that it's often me summarizing it rather than Arwin summarizing it.
Yep.
And it was, no offense to Arwin, it was god awful. Yes, you could listen to that.
I wanted to wring his neck.
I did. I was sitting there thinking, my computer wasn't working at that point. I could do nothing, you know, to join. But I was sitting there thinking, you can't refract the horizon with an R value that requires a physical, non-refracted horizon to measure. That's the paradox.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got that in here, where it's totally relevant. Oh, someone's hit the super chat and I've missed it. Hold on a second. I must, as I'm now on the ball. Check it out. I'm on the ball and I can shout out Johnny Grabovic. Johnny Grabovic. What a wonderful name. Who's joined as a new member. Thank you very much for joining. And also Retro Bill, who says, infinite vertical planes demand infinite horizontal planes. There you go.
Well, aren't you special?
What makes him special, did you say?
No, I said you're special because super chats they've been few and far between. My wife is pissed.
Yeah, you heard that from QE. Smash the super chat here and now for me, because it's obviously that important to QE's wife that I get lots of super chats having been off for a week.
You want to repeat your summary of the Arwinian paradox?
Why?
Yeah, did I not do a good job the first time?
I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write it down. I was getting there, but he spoke too fast.
Okay, so you can't refract the horizon with an R value that requires you measure the horizon to get the R value. They're saying, well, it's refracted. How is it refracted? Well, it's refracted with terrestrial refraction at a rate of the radius. How'd you get the radius? With a physical geometric horizon. So the horizon that you're refracted is refracted with a value of R derived from a geometric horizon. That's right. No, that's paradoxical.
You can't use an unmeasured value to claim you have a refracted position based on that unmeasured value. And the basis and proof for this refracted position is the unmeasured value.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It can't be done.
Exactly. You go, well, what do you mean you can prove?
Why did Darwin take long to do that?
He was drinking.
You can prove the position of the rainbow. Well, how do you position the rainbow physically? Well, because of its refracted value. Okay, and what's that based on? Well, it's based on the physical position of the rainbow. And then we derive the refracted value for the rainbow's position in refracted terms from the physical measurement of the rainbow. How'd you get the physical measurement of the rainbow? Well, you don't, but we've got the value, and we need that value for the physical position to refract the rainbow. No, that's just paradoxical nonsense.
No, you can derive R from the refracted position. That's what do you know what I mean? R has become a derivative of a claimed refracted position that's based on the measurement of the R that you can only derive from the refracted position.
I love it. This becomes an infinite. This has become. I love it. They turn a paradox in rebuttal into an infinite regress fallacy. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Am I correct, QE? This becomes them kicking the can down the road. Well, we get the refracted position for the non-refracted position from the refracted position. Where'd you get the non-refracted refracted position for the non-refracted position? Well, we get that from the refracted non-refracted refracted position when we got it from the non-refracted refracted non-refracted refracted position when we were refracting it. We see that when it's refracted.
Well, Ruhif is the best at it. Ruhif is the best, is their best spokesperson for it. Because if you say, where is your geometric horizon? He'll say, you mean the non-refracted horizon? Is that the horizon you're talking about?
I see.
Look, if you say yes
just change it to rainbow. So where did it get the value for the rainbow? Well, it's from the non-refracted rainbow value. All right, where'd you get that? Well, non-refracted, like physical. Where's that? How's that geometric horizon working out for you, by the way, Rufy? Good? Yeah, good?
I think you mean the non-refracted horizon.
I'm pretty sure I mean the geometric horizon. Marked with an X, labelled horizon in there, begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective, hijacking Earth curve calculator. You can't really miss it. It's labelled horizon, Brian. It's geometric.
But that can never happen because we have, according to them, you have to have an Earth with no atmosphere for that to happen.
Yeah, what is it? No Atmo Day? What's going on?
Ruhif's question, when Ruhif says, do you mean, because he's asked me this, I don't know how many times, and he's same with Adam, I'm sure. Do you mean the non-refracted? Well, we mentioned their geometric horizon that doesn't exist. He says, do you mean the non-refracted horizon? Now, if you're naive, you'll say yes. And at that point, you're agreeing to his craziness. You're in agreement with him. that there's this non-refracted position that actually exists that we can't see because it's always refracted.
I didn't actually get to do a sound check this morning, so can someone from the chat, if I'm reading the chat, just let me know if the sound is okay, if everyone's all balanced up. I haven't checked it. Sorry to interrupt your flow, Brian, with something I should have done 2 hours ago.
But you was hoping they would pay attention to it, because it is a question that Ruhaf says to people. When people bring up his global geometric horizon that doesn't exist, he says, I think do you mean right, the non-refracted horizon, hoping for somebody to say yes. And at that point, you're in agreement that this non-refracted nonsense position exists. You're literally walking into that paradigm. You're begging the question with him. As soon as you say yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
no.
yeah. Like you do when you give him a straight line in that.
Sorry?
Like you do when you give him a straight line in that.
What do you mean?
Begging the question with them. You know, helping them along, giving them that straight line they don't have.
What straight line?
With the tangent.
No, I'm not giving them the tangent. I'm taking it away. Mathematically taking it away. Because a tangent is only a mathematical thing. I'm taking it away mathematically.
You don't need to.
It's
the whole to a curve, from a curve thing, doesn't that resolve that?
Well, I spent several years trying to get people to focus on the dip correction, and no one wanted to know. So, okay, we'll go to the tangent then that they'll create off of the dip correction. So nobody wants to, the dip correction just like, yeah, dip correction. It's just flippantly pushed aside when that is the killer of the whole thing. But so okay, tangent then. Because they won't stop claiming a tangent. And nobody will go for go at them with the dip correction. So they keep on claiming tangent. But a tangent can't exist in reality. It mathematically can't. It doesn't even work mathematically, because it has to be a contradiction, a mathematical contradiction. Because if they're claiming, not just a tangent to a circle, when they claim, because their claim is specific, a horizontal tangent plane. The word horizontal, as soon as that is placed there, that means that there will be a vertical that will be perpendicular to it. But they're trying to claim that there can only be one vertical perpendicular to that horizontal. It's like, no.
But you can't have a perpendicular on the globe.
You guys make tangents again.
No, you're not. You're missing the point. Nobody's getting it.
Every time someone points out how it dies on its ass, Brian says we're missing the point.
Yeah, you're missing the point, because in reality there can be infinite verticals to a horizontal. They are trying to claim in reality there can only be one vertical.
Sorry to pipe up through you, but I just said that. This is John's point, right? To a curve as opposed to from a curve. Now, I know you've already responded. You said, well, yeah, I've been saying for years, dip correction. What are we doing? We're taking a line to the horizon. Now, is that to a curve, or are we acquiring an angle measurement from a curve? How are we getting it is my point.
Well, the tangent plane comes after the dip correction. In their claim, when the baller is trying to detail the situation, they'll get to the dip correction point, and whether they say it or not, they're correcting from a refracted horizon up to the eye line, right? And then they have a tangent plane, and then they're making an angle and bringing it to the center of the globe, blah blah blah. Whereas they shouldn't be allowed to get past the dip correction. They shouldn't be allowed to get past that point. But everyone leaves them past that point. So I'm going, okay, then I'll just take the tangent apart then.
The purpose for the dip correction is because the nautical almanac and everything that the numbers in there are based on the center of the Earth, equatorial plane. And in order to do that from the surface, your eyes have to be on the water line. So that's the whole purpose of the dip correction, because you might be 10 feet above with a depression angle. So how can you have a depression angle? So get your eyes on the water line, which is where they put their tangent plane, which they conjure. Now they have a horizontal that matches the equatorial plane. It's just a mathematical escape for them, but it doesn't exist.
Yeah, but what they're doing, what the dip correction is it's a vertical correction at the horizon. That's what you're doing. You're correcting the line between the eye and the horizon, the water at the horizon, that's where the line is going. When you're using the horizon mirror, your line, right, the line from the eye is going down to the water.
Yeah, it's a depression angle. Yeah.
So if your height of eye is 50 feet, then you're correcting for 50 feet at your visible horizon. It's a 50 feet vertical correction. Now, Adam and me have gone through this. We've argued about it. Adam is saying it's just optical. I'm pointing out, no, it's actually geometric, because you're making an actual vertical correction based on on your certain height of eye. So consequently, my argument there is that it's a measurement. My point is that the water, that when you're looking at the horizon, then there has to actually be physical water there for the dip correction to take hold. You can't do a dip to a refractive, to a mirage, is my point. You can't do a dip to something that isn't there. You're trying to claim, go on.
How do they have a horizon?
Yes, how do they have a horizon? But that's the point. They're trying to claim that what we're seeing is not really there. They're trying to claim there isn't water.
You're talking about a dip to something they can't have.
I'm not talking about it. They're claiming this nonsense. I'm pointing out.
What? You're pointing out what?
I'm trying to point out that the dip correction means that there has to be water at the horizon you're seeing, because you're correcting for the height of your eye above the water underneath your boat.
No, you can't use horizon. They can't use a horizon.
In reality, I can. In reality, not. I'm talking about in reality what the dip correction is.
Yeah, me too. I'm talking about that as a baller. You can't use that. You can't use the horizon. You got to come up with another word and another concept.
Yeah, because they don't. It's not horizontal in their word. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that. I understand that. But I'm talking about the real world dip correction, and they're trying to claim that what we're seeing that they're not correct. They're trying to say that the water we see out at the horizon is not really there.
Whoa! What did you say? Horizon?
That we are seeing out at the horizon. We're seeing.
Oh, so their claim. Did they claim a dip correction?
They're trying to hijack the dip correction. Yes.
Dip correction from what?
From a refracted horizon.
Oh, they can't. I'm sorry. Number one, they don't know what refraction is. Number two, they can't use the horizon. That I've taken that away from them. Yeah. I'm sorry. We've taken that away from them.
Especially me.
but that still doesn't change their. With the exception of the word horizon, that doesn't change what they say about dip correction.
Oh, I don't care what they say. They can't have a horizon. It's simple as that.
Why is that? Why can't they have a horizon?
Because horizons and horizontal lines all have dip. All have slope of 0. Whereas curvature is always a non-zero slope. Rate of change of slope. That's a paradox. They can't have that. They have to give up curvature. Don't you look at one of my horizons.
Go to the picture of Master B, Nathan.
Okay.
You see it? Airplane, horizontal. Surface of the Earth, horizontal. Celestial horizon, same as the equatorial plane, horizontal. When does the curve of the Earth, does surplus to requirement dingleberry come into play for any angle? They never use it.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're doing a dip from a refracted position.
Refraction. You can't have refraction in the atmosphere.
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't change what they're believing.
I don't care. I don't care what delusional Dunning-Kruger Muppets believe. It's not my job. Well, it is my job in the beginning, just initially, to show that they can't have a horizon. I'm going to get you guys onto this. It's. I would say it's strong to a quite strong position.
Well, I think the picture I just posted argues your point quite well.
What picture?
On the Master B.
When it says celestial horizon that doesn't exist?
No. This is what doesn't exist is the dingleberry.
Oh, I know that doesn't exist because we have horizons in reality.
I know. If you get rid of the dingleberry and all you have is three parallel lines, where's Earth curvature? Where's slope of any type? There isn't it.
Can't have a slope on a horizontal line. And a horizontal line is derived from horizon.
Right.
So, therefore, horizons have slope of 0 also. You guys don't want this because you can't argue all those nonsensical minutia points, right?
I just gave you the picture that backs what you're saying.
I don't need no backing. All I have to do is look. All anyone has to do is look at, and if they see a horizon, the ball tart's done.
Exactly.
So
that's what the picture shows is your argument right there.
I don't need no rubber ducky life preservers.
Well, you did 2 months ago. You liked the rubber ducky 2 months ago. Now you don't want it?
I do. I still like it. But all right, go on, gentlemen. Keep on talking, and then I'll just be back. As soon as there's any connection whatsoever, how simply implicit it might be, I'm going to jump all over you. How you like me now? Because I'm going to ask you to show a horizon on a sphere tart.
I just showed you it's not possible. So I'm doing the opposite. I'm agreeing with you with a picture.
All right.
Right, but it's going to be awkward now to talk about anything because you're going to jump by every time the word refraction or horizon or that comes up. It's going to be impossible.
No, the sphere is surplus to requirement. So any topic about a sphere is surplus to the argument is what QE said.
You can do it now, Brian. I got an egg sandwich, man. I can't be able to speak, so go ahead.
I showed up. I'll take over for QE.
Anybody know how long this live stream's been going?
No idea.
Over an hour, hasn't it?
Been over an hour?
1 hour, yes.
Oh, well, with that, I'm going to say...
Oh, here we go. Flat Earthers back in the house.
Indeedy. With that, though, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you're watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
That's what I recall.
I think what it means depends on how much you like someone. So if you don't like them, it could be bad. If you do like them, it could be good. Usually bad. Usually it's a bad thing, yeah.
Okay, I will get stuffed. As you say, QE, I love you.
Get in line.
Just get some
Not that
pita
love
bread.
you. I
Just
just
get
love
some
you.
flat Arthur. Just get some pita bread and stuff it. And you'll be fine.
Will
Where were
chapatis
you?
do?
Where were you? What the refraction presentation? That was a killer presentation, ladies and gentlemen.
I wanted to be there, but it was too late into the night, so I left, keeping in mind that it was going to be there at 12:30 a.m., starting 12:30 a.m., but it was going to be too late for me. I had to wake up early the next night, so I thought I'm not sure whether I'll get the chance to add something. I had a few questions in mind, but then that's the reason I did not join. But I was eagerly waiting for you to have that presentation, and I'm in the middle of watching it, halfway through almost.
Fair enough. Make sure you write your questions down. Get with Adam.
Okay.
I got a question about it because they was using a plane of reference in that terrestrial refraction. Did you ever give them any crap about the horizontal that they're claiming?
That was really cool when I came across it. Hit me. I must have read through that thing like, 20, 50 times. I never seen it. So that was sort of off the cuff type of thing. I kind of enjoyed it, didn't you?
Oh yeah, yeah. They got it everywhere. It populates their ideology. They call it the plane of reference usually. You know. But yeah, it's everywhere.
Not that I needed it though.
No, not for refraction. No, that because they're not using refraction.
Yeah, I killed it long before then. I love doing that presentation. Let's do it every week.
Yes, QE, repetitions are good. I thought, why do you keep repeating the same stuff again and again? But I do realize now that it is important to do so. So keep doing it. Even if you repeat some of the previous stuff, it is very important for people to listen to even now. Even I get to learn a number of things when you do it again. So for people for whom it might not have registered the last time, it always helps to listen to the same arguments again and again and discuss the nuances of it when you do those repeat shows.
Flat Arthur, you can say that again.
Okay, it was long, but I will try.
So, refractive curvature. Why does the globe need so many planes of references?
Because it's not a globe.
Exactly. They can never use it. The dingleberry surplus.
It's surplus in the same way a teddy bear is surplus to the military. You know, like I don't. It's not even related.
Teddy bear dip correction.
Well, I mean, it's just they talk about a globe. They'll show you a a ball and spin it around, but you never reference it. It's just it's like a teddy bear that a girl keeps on her bed.
Wasn't there wasn't there a segment someone cut out where they were at sea and the captain or the navigator says, "No, we just treat it as flat." Who's got that clip?
Oh, I got that 10th. I can put it in our Discord. I'll find it.
Yeah, someone put in Master B because again, if it's surplus to requirement and you don't need to use it, then why talk about it?
Because it's cute on the bed, Tenth. It ties the room together. You know what I'm saying?
But the thing about it is, even with that, what the guy is referencing is the universal transverse Mercator. And although he's saying, yeah, you just go straight, because that's what you do in reality, the map that he's referencing is a globe map that has been flattened out in a cylinder. And they've just turned the latitude and longitude grid on a globe into an XY coordinates grid. So it's still begging the question, it's still all globitis. Because they're using the latitude and longitude positions that fit a globe, not the ones that fit reality. But they're not dealing with them. What I mean by that is that what I mean by they're not dealing with them is because of the routes they're taking. The routes they take work on globe or flat. All of their routes work on globe or flat. This is the thing. You know what I mean? So there's a couple of them that are claimed to work. Oh, they try and say they work only on a globe. People nonsense. There's no proof for some of these routes. But the point is that they're using a projection that is based off of the latitude, longitude, and longitude grid displaced on a globe. That's what the universal transverse Mercator is. So
and how did they initially get the latitude and longitude to begin with to project on a globe?
See, that's the thing about it. Yeah, that's the thing about it. That's the thing about it. It's all based off of a flat plane, as time zones prove. That's the thing about it. Time zones prove it.
Right. So they get it from a flat plane, project it to
elevation angle measurements to Polaris. Obviously, the first thing, because that's the measurement you have to make to get the latitude and longitude grid in the first place. But that's not the point. The point I'm making is that when they do hijack the latitude and longitude grid and turn the Earth mathematically into a globe, they then flatten it back out again and call it the universal transverse Mercator map, which is an XY map, but it's still referencing globe positions. And you will see that with the amount of longitude lines that are going through Australia. So it's like several steps on from the initial hijacking.
Right. Well, you say they roll it out on a cylinder. You have to have a mathematical conversion for that. You just can't pick up the skin of a basketball and roll it out on a cylinder and get it to work.
Yeah. See, what they do is they take the latitude and longitude grid and turn it into an XY map in a cylinder, in a cylinder projection, right? A rolled out cylinder projection. And then they use the Haversine formula. See, if you can remember me saying this in the past several times, that they take the already measured, right, circles of equal altitude that were measured in reality on a flat plane, and then they place them onto the universal transverse Mercator map, which distorts them immediately, and then they distort them further by using the Haversine formula, turning the universal transverse Mercator map into a globe. So they measure these big massive horizontal planes in reality, then they place them onto a flat map. But that flat map is then, you can use the Haversine formula to turn that flat map into a globe. So you're distorting the measurements twice to get them to fit a globe.
Right, but to convert the angle measurements onto a cylinder, you need a mathematical conversion, some kind of formula, right? Or a transformative equation. Before you can go from angle measurements off a flat plane using the celestial sphere to a cylinder. There's a mathematical step there that has to be involved.
Well, I don't know what step that is. I know that it distorts the circles of equal altitude when you put them on. But if you look at what they do line of position. You ever notice when you see line of position where they're using intersecting lines as opposed to actual circles? Well, they're using circles, but they then use intersecting lines like tangents to those circles. So they end up dealing with line of position all the time, as opposed to seeing the reality, which is three big circles that three horizontal flat planes that they're measuring. They go straight past that because they go to line of position.
Right. Well, they're traveling. They're not necessarily trying to figure out where they are alone. They're trying to figure out where they're going to. So yeah, they need a line of position between those 2 points for the journey.
Well, when they're doing when they're doing the three circles of equal altitude, what they're doing is they're making tangents to those three circles, and where those tangents cross, that will be their position, their coordinates. But they look past those three circles because they're only focusing on these three straight lines that are crossing. They're only focusing on the crossing lines. They're not focusing on the measurements they've made. And then those crossing lines are the coordinates then placed onto a universal transverse Mercator map, basically, or they're doing it on that. And then using the Haberstein formula, they can then, if they want, then convert it to globe. If you understand what I mean. It's a complete and utter mess, is what it is.
Well, see, the thing is, if you're taking the angle measurement and then creating a circle of equal altitude, how did you end up with the cylinder transverse Mercator to distort it?
Well, the transverse Mercator is just a back engineering from the globe, be back engineered from flat plane measurements. They're just reversing it. So they're starting out with flat plane measurements and they're going to the universal transverse Mercator and then to the globe, as opposed to flat plane measurements which gave them the latitude and longitude grid, which then allows them to create a globe and then allows them to create the universal transverse Mercator off of the globe. Do you know what I mean?
Now, when you say globe, are you sure you're not just talking about where they take the points from the center of the Earth and assert that they're intersecting with lines leading up to the stars, and then taking those points and just saying instead of the celestial sphere, that's the Earth now?
Yeah, well, when the latitude and longitude grid was measured, right? It's a flat grid, two-dimensional flat Earth grid, right? When you bring all the longitude lines that are south, all the south points, the longitude lines together, you create a globe of radius 3959 statute miles. Then you can create the universal transverse Mercator map by using the latitude and longitude positions that fit that globe, right, and make them into an XY map, cylinder map. And then you can do crossing lines, ignoring the circles of equal altitude sizes you're creating, crossing lines on a universal transverse Mercator map to give you a coordinates, which you can then transform back onto a globe via the Haberstein formula. But the whole lot is you using the latitude and longitude grid as a completely flat grid, where everywhere it's out is diverging from north, and you're using the celestial sphere or dome model. Sorry, it's such a mess. It's an unbelievable mess.
Sorry to step on you there, Brian. And I just dropped that link into Discord that just details everything that Brian just said from a yacht captain detailing it.
Yeah, that was me. Can you put in Master B, Brian?
I'm not on Discord.
Oh, someone on.
I think
on the panel.
Maybe right.
Can I say something?
Well, hang on. Could someone put that in Master B, please? That link to that video.
If you started at the 3:30 mark, if you really go back to the 2-minute mark, that's when they start to talk about the maps and the projections. But at 3:30, he really details it out. I don't know how much time.
Yeah, we should start at the 2-minute mark then, just to hear what he has to say. Because basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to measure everything flat and then claim a globe, and it's just completely paradoxical. It's crazy, but with enough maths used in the right way, you can have a mathematical belief of what you did.
Well, they tell you what they're doing. The minute they mention the celestial sphere, they're admitting they're using an equatorial plane, which is a plane. I mean, they're projecting the longitude latitude lines onto a concave surface of the celestial sphere, which is your perspective view of how everything is. Meaning, if you see the sun rising from the east, it's at 0. And when it's directly overhead, it's at 90. And then when it's setting in the west, it's at 180. So that 0 to 180, that's a straight angle. And so you project your longitude latitude off of a flat plane onto that concave celestial sphere. They even tell you it's projected. Projected from what? The flat plane.
Right, but how do you get from that to the Mercator?
That's what I'm saying about those lines of position, John. If you look at those lines of position, that's what they work off of, as opposed to the intersection. The lines of position are just straight lines that are like tangents to those three circles. And those three lines, those lines of position, will be your coordinates. But when you're focusing on those three lines, you're forgetting that the three circles that they're tangent to have been measured flat. So you look past that. It's like the best way to describe it. Eratosthenes, the way he measured an elevation angle using a shadow, but then he had to start talking about the shadows as opposed to focusing on the elevation angle. It's kind of like that. People focus on the crossing lines as opposed to the three massive circles that were measured.
And that's what makes it work, Brian. See, the globe model works perfectly because in the end, it's all based off a flat plane.
There is no globe model.
Yeah, there is.
No, there isn't. Show it.
No, you can't show it.
Then it's not a fucking model. Oh, no swearing.
Yeah, it is.
Not a model.
It is an effing model in their minds, and they think it is and they use it like a model.
So now you're defining
like
their
a model.
mind. You're defining Dunning-Kruger dipshit minds, right?
No, it's a collective response. They think of it as a model.
Is that your expertise as you rumpus me?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did my entire explanation interrupt the middle of the beginning of your sentence?
Fine.
Okay, do you want to continue the discussion, or should we carry on arguing about the rumpusing? Carry on as you were.
I don't know. I was saying something and then I got interrupted.
So. Shut up. So you invoke globe model, right? You said they have a globe model. Show it.
It's over there.
No, you have to show it.
It's right there, based off a flat plane in their minds. It exists in their minds, and they really think that it is a model. And they agree among one another that it is a model. Just
that's my point. Then
show it doesn't mean that it's not a model.
That's my point. Then you're divining complete Dunning-Kruger dipshit's thoughts.
I don't have to divine anybody. I used to be that guy. I'm basing my insight on my own empirical personal experience.
I personally only divine shrimp nowadays.
Could we say that they don't have a model, but you can think of it like they have a model?
No, you can't
They think of it as if they are having a model. That's the point. We don't have to think anything. They think of it as having a model.
What's a model?
They don't know. That's the point. That doesn't mean that they can't have one. They just don't know what it is. Just like gravity, right? They have gravity. They don't know what it is, but they have it. They think they do. They all agree that they do. And they agree that it does things, even though they don't know what it is. But the Earth is a ball because of it. That's what they know.
A perfectly good divine shrimp pun went by and no one said anything.
Of course we did.
It's tragic.
I just can't get that George Muser quote out of my head whenever I hear him talking about a model. It's like, they ain't got one. There is not one. At best, they have flat plane models that they hold up in false dichotomy. That's all they got. And then, so it's not a globe model, but you can think of it that way.
No,
I believe you're on a globe.
It's a globe model, but it only works because it's based off a flat plane.
There is no globe model. And it doesn't work.
It does work. Why else would everybody believe it?
Because they're Dunning-Kruger numpty dipshits?
Yeah. And that's their model.
Oh, so because we have delusional people, whatever they agree to believe on, that means that it exists.
No, that means that they have a model.
No, it doesn't. That's stupid.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that they don't have a model.
Okay, so that doesn't mean that they don't. That's a double negative.
That's right. Yeah, it's stupid. It doesn't mean it's not right. It is right. They do have a model, and it's stupid. The model is stupid. It's not complete. It's not based on anything scientific or logical or anything, and it doesn't matter.
Then it can't be a model, then.
They disagree.
This is not agree-disagree genre.
Who's there?
Get him.
It is. It exactly is a agree-disagree genre. That's what they do. It's not science, but that's what they do.
Who's they?
That's what they do.
It's not science. What? No, we're not talking about science. Why are you invoking science? We're talking about what is.
Exactly. You're cornered. You're cornered. You're white knighting for the Globetards saying they have a model.
I'm not
Let's see it.
white-knighting anything. I'm walking on them like a giant bull, just trying to keep balance. That's all I'm doing. I'm not white-knighting anything. They don't even understand what it is I'm doing.
Actually, they do have a model. It's called Miss Universe contest.
See, there you go. They do have a model, John. Just because you don't want to call it a model doesn't mean it's not a model.
And she got some curves, son. She got some curves.
That's right. And now whether she exists or not, or is actually shaped like that, is irrelevant to the fact that everybody agrees that it is a model.
What is it? You say it a lot.
You don't have to know what it is to know that it is a model.
Yeah, it part again. Well, I need to see the it because I'm just not seeing it.
It's over there.
Over there. Can you point at it?
Yes.
Okay, where is it? Let's point at it. Oh.
You better not say Horizon.
Absolutely. I'm not going to tie this into what really is situations or things. What do you think I am? Who do you think I am? Come on.
A white knight.
About the globe model. It's just not the really is level.
You're a white knight for Dunning-Kruger dipshits?
No, I'm not.
You're
I'm
already
simply
granted.
explaining the perspective. I'm just being a translator.
So you're translating their perspective. So you're not divining, you're translating.
Yes, because I don't have to divine their perspective because I have their perspective in me.
You said that before.
That one. You see?
He just admitted that he is they.
Yeah.
Well, you can think of me as they or being part of they, but of course, they is never an individual.
And what is this? Who do you think I am? You've been on the show for 7, 8 years, and we've known you that long, and you say, you don't, what is it exactly you said?
I don't know. You don't seem to remember.
No, it was so weird because it's like,
yes,
you don't think you know who I am or something, but we know who you are.
Well, you misinterpreted that because you don't remember exactly what I said. Neither do I, but that's not my problem.
Had I been paying attention, I would know exactly how to interpret it.
Exactly. Nathan gets
Brian,
it.
but Brian did it 2 weeks ago. So come on, Brian, help us.
Brian hasn't been saying too much recently. I don't know why.
Are you talking about, when you say recently, are you talking about the last 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Well, what can I do? I'm just trying to point out the craziness of these people. And you're holding them to task as if he is claiming a model. Now,
Well,
I can't get involved in that.
Now, if he's going to mindlessly parrot that they have a model, then he would have to already acquiesce that they do have a model. And I want to see it to give a positive reference to his acquiescence.
Well, look, I can give you a psychological model as to how they think that they have a physical model.
No,
that's a
that's
model. That is provably a model.
Okay, show us the psychological model.
Okay, well, they are basically reifying something into existence that they have a personal need to think and believe in as real. And they are instructed to basically bypass anything on that doesn't, on an intuitive level, fit with the general consensus of their convictions. So the ignorance,
you're just making shit up.
controlled ignorance is a big
Not a psychological. That's not a psychological model. That's you making stuff up.
That's not
There
even a
is no
no-brainer.
psychological model, dumbass. Psychology isn't a science, so you literally just bit your own toe off.
He didn't say it was. The thing is, you said reification. That means that they have to have some kind of concept.
You can't, not a psychological model suggests that there is one, and it can't be. You said it wrong, John. You made a mistake.
You said that there has to be something. You're reifying it into existence. What is it they are reifying?
The cosmology of the realm that they are in, basically. An idea of a spherical Earth.
They're reifying two horizontal planes, the plane of the Earth and the terrestrial plane, into a sphere with a spherical terrestrial celestial dome.
Right. And that's how you know that it works, because it's based off a flat plane.
Right, but can I reify a basketball into a house?
That depends if your house has a basketball court.
But that's not reification.
I'm just answering. I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
What the heck was that?
Basketball is not a basketball court.
Was asking if he could reify basketball into his house, and thought, well, if you have a basketball court, how am I supposed to answer such a question?
Well, you just did by saying, well, you have to have a basketball court.
Right. So there you go.
You're going to need a flat
How
plane
I'm
for
supposed to answer that question. So no more complaints then.
There's a basketball outside there's a basketball outside my garage. I don't have a basketball court.
Right. Well, your house is not a basketball then, John. Get over it.
Don't ask Arwen to go through hoops, John.
Well, what my point is, Arlen, is they're not reifying anything. There's nothing there to reify. There is no model.
Well, the idea. And there is a model. It's just based off a flat plane. But I mean, it's there. You just have to ignore the source of the information and think that it just came out of nowhere. And
so what is the name of this model that you've seen that is the model? What is the name of it?
It's called the reification.
It's mostly just an assembly of mathematical constructions, right? That's the model. It's an assembly.
What type of mathematical constructions? Where's the math?
Over there.
Yeah,
Ask Brian or something. I don't know about math. I just know when it's being applied and when it isn't. You don't have to. Don't ask me about the math.
Okay, I'll ask Brian. Brian, where's the maths?
Come on, Brian. Say over there.
For a globe.
Yes.
It's the maths for a circle.
Model.
No. He says, John, relax. He said, Brian said, mass for a globe. Somebody said yes. And then he said, mass for a circle. Circle's not a globe.
Yeah, but that is the only maths they have.
Uh-oh.
So the only math they have concedes that it's not a globe? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, they've turned a straight line into a circle. That's what they did by taking the two set ends of two corresponding longitude lines and making them meet. That's turning into a circle.
Happy ever after on the globe.
Yeah, because their maths is orthographic. Everything they show is orthographic. Because a circle is orthographic. It's 2D.
But a circle's not a sphere. We need the maths. Y'all said that they have a mathematical model. You said they have a mathematical model. We'd like to see that.
If you can't produce an R value,
they just need the suggestion of the model. They just need something that seemingly is spherical to look at while somebody tells them, see, this is proof that the Earth is a sphere. And that's good enough.
Good. Now, please produce an R value.
Yeah, but they have.
Arwen. That was for Arwen. That was for Arwen.
No, let Brian answer.
No. Produce an R value, please.
Don't ask me about that.
Well, you're the one saying it's a model, so you got to be an R value for that model. Produce it, please, before we go to the model.
You can't measure it, but you can derive it mathematically from the equator length.
Say that again slowly, please.
You can't actually measure it using optics, but you can derive it.
Okay, so you can't produce an R value by measurement then?
Yes, because it's all refracted.
So then how can you have a model?
You can calculate it.
But you can't measure it.
I'm sorry. I can't help it that you can't measure it, but you can still calculate it.
Calculations require variables. What are the variables in this calculation that you're claiming?
Equator length.
The equator is measured from a flat plane. Try again.
Yeah, so what? I never denied that the globe model was based off a flat plane and that is the reason why it works. I'm sorry, I've said it like 5 times.
But there is no calculation for a globe then. You're using...
And there is no globe model.
Nobody claimed or disclaimed any of that. I'm just arguing why there is a globe model. And
he's arguing that there is a globe model. Let's see it.
It's over there, and it's based off a flat plane. We've been talking about it all this time.
Well, it's not over there. You haven't produced it, so that's a baseless assertion fallacy.
You can tell us to go look for it.
Produce a model.
Yeah, you should tell us to go look for it so it becomes an elephant hurling fallacy on top.
You don't have to look for it. It's right over there. I can't help it. You can't see it.
Yeah, it. We're back to it again. Are you the one reifying it? Like this idea you have in your mind that might be a model, but you're not really sure, and you're saying that's it, and you're saying it is over there. I don't even
know at this point what a freaking model is. I'm just arguing why the globe model exists.
Huh?
Yes, that's right. I don't know what a model is, but I'm arguing for its existence.
It's fairly standard.
That made my teeth hurt.
This is normal business.
It's normal, standard baller behavior.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's exactly it. I don't need to support the existence of the model that I don't understand.
Their basis of the proof of a model is the fact that everybody refers to a model. That's it. That's their proof.
That's right. An idea is bulletproof, and that's basically what it is, an idea based off a flat plate, but...
That's reification. Ideas aren't physical, and you use bullets?
Hey, welcome to the modern world, where everything can mean anything else. Everybody's doing it. Nobody knows their ass from the hole in the wall anymore, so...
I think the saying is pipe wrench.
Or that.
So the conclusion to this is the model doesn't exist, but they think because they say there is a model, they think that's enough proof of its existence.
No, it's more like because they don't know what model actually means, they just say it's a model. The point is, it's just like with gravity, they don't actually know what it is, but they just insist that it exists.
Well, they just hijacked.
How is that different from what I said?
Astrology. That's all they did. They hijacked astrology and then claimed it to be the globe model, and then claimed that their model made predictions. That's what they did.
Globe model? Where's that at?
Now
But that's what I'm saying. They hijacked the astrology, the model of the sky, of the movement of the celestials throughout the year. They hijacked that, called it a globe model, and then claimed that their globe model made predictions. That's all they actually did.
That's non sequitur, because that's talking about a model of a sky, which they don't have anyway. But we want the globe, not the sky, what we're walking on.
Yeah, but they can only give you the sky. That's the point. The whole globe model can only give you the sky. The globe model is just the celestial, the model of the celestial.
That's non sequitur.
Well, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Where is that old fly trap at? Timmy Clown.
Timmy? Oh, God. I think he still roams around.
I hadn't seen or heard from him in a couple of years now. I think the last time he was on here, that was it.
I saw him about a week and a half ago on Validation Boys live stream. He's a different person now. When we first encountered Tim Osman, he was like in his early 20s, and he was just basically a kid. Well, how long have we been around? 8 years later. He's a bit more mature. He's a bit less of a dick. He's just grown up a bit, basically. So what came across as being, I don't know, what you'd describe it, being a sociopath? Nah, just being a dickhead kid. Back when he was like that. He doesn't seem to be quite so much like that anymore.
Does he know the difference between mute and moot yet?
Didn't say his intelligence level had increased, did I?
Invite him on.
I've got an open door, as always. I mean, I didn't stress that necessarily more than I normally do at the beginning of this show after a week's break. It doesn't seem justified, but maybe tomorrow's show I'll point that out. There's an open door. It's never changed, but obviously we get a bit complacent about that fact. So we don't need to invite anybody. If he happened to have an audience member say, hey, when they see him on the circuit, they were talking about you on Flat Earth Debate and whether or not you'd be on again. They hadn't seen you for ages. That's I don't count that as an invitation. It's just we're talking about somebody, and if they happen to be listening and decide that they want to join in with the conversation, they're welcome to join, aren't they? Tim Osman's not on the ban list. There's only about 5 people on that list in 8 years. Not exactly terrible, less than 1 a year.
Well, I think, Nathan, the point you made is good concerning Tim Osman, is that he was young, now he's less young than he was, and maybe there's a lot of the ballers out there who, with the exception of a few, who were kind of young, and a lot of the newer ballers are kind of young, and they're just being young and big and, let's say, bull-headed, as opposed to, actually dealing with the problems. Maybe we're dealing with a lot of 20-year-olds who just don't want to admit they're wrong, as opposed to people who've kind of grown up a bit. Now, there's a few people who are well past 20 and just won't admit that they're wrong because they just can't see how they can be. They can't deal with it, let's say, mentally. But I'm sure there's most of the ballers are probably around 20. They have some kind of a college or university type degree or education of some kind. And they just don't want to admit that, that the stuff they know is not worth knowing because it doesn't mean anything in the end of the day because it's not real,
It only proves that they are bandwagoning consensus science, no such thing, rather than thinking logically and reasonably to questions posed to them about the topic. So they're not they're not willing to say, that doesn't make sense what they're telling me. I got to go figure that out. They're saying, no, there's consensus. The NASA, the professor at school, the books, everybody says it is, so it must be. And then they come and argue, but they're just parroting. They're not thinking. Whereas we decided to check things out.
Do they know what a model is? I almost want to make that a housekeeping question. Can you define model for us? Do they even know what a model is?
No. If they can't even figure out what science is, why would you assume that they understand what a model is?
Well, I would like to know if any of them can actually define model. I mean, wouldn't you? I'd like to hear them give it a try at least.
But that's the whole point. They've heard most of their life the model works. So they go with consensus science and this model talk, and they say, well, the model works, so it must be right. And plus, there's consensus. They're not thinking. They're not asking questions. They need to define words, which they never do.
First of all, this isn't a scientific topic. Second of all, scientific consensus, that's a married bachelor. I didn't have a third point.
No, that's what I'm saying. Science cannot be consensus driven.
Yeah, but I've heard the term model in this subject for forever, since I've been around. As much as it's thrown around, shouldn't someone at least try to define what it is? I mean, I don't think we need to, because we don't have a model.
No, they're hijacking, John, they're hijacking the word model like they're hijacking the word science. If you go buy a model of a Corvette, it tells you the scale that it's modeled after. It's got a reference. They don't have one for the Earth.
Yeah, it's the planar reference. You know that.
Well, but you can't. I was waiting for someone to say, yeah, they're using a plane, right? So, but they can't say that because there's no longer a globe model.
But I mean, I don't think I've ever once heard anyone try or attempt to define that word. Not once. I would like to ask one is there any ballers in Discord that would like to define model?
But they already have to define gravity, and they can't do that.
Well, this one should be a lot easier than gravity, right? It's just model.
Yeah, but the consequences are so much bigger.
John, they would have to produce an R value geometrically, and they can't. The black swan prevents a globe model from ever being presented.
One of the what I've heard recently as some kind of a proof for radius is the surveying thing, and we've gone through it, but we've seen it before. You know, the arc of the parallel. Have you heard of that? The arc of the parallel. It's a claim of the measurement of a radius.
What? Say that again. Those arc of the parallel. Of the parallel.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I can't remember the full name, but it's arc of the parallel of something. I think it happened in Scandinavia, Sweden, Switzerland, somewhere, Sweden, Norway, around there. And there was something, and I remember we went through some years ago. We were laughing at it. Someone presented it to us, and it was the biggest begging the question fallacy.
Well, it dies on the surface. How can the parallel have an arc?
Well, it was the curve of the straight. That's what the arc of the parallel. That's curve of the straight. That doesn't make sense.
I don't have the full name for it, but there's arc of the parallel. It's part of the name, Someone might know what I'm on about and post it. But it's like, I mean, how did they do this? Let's say to measure in surveying, right? They're not using the horizon, right? Because the horizon is not geometric. Then the only way that they could be measuring an R value would be to measure a change in elevation, right? They'd have to measure a change in elevation. And the way they measure changes in elevation in surveying, whether it be planar or geodetic, same thing, same surveying, it's through the use of the process of rise over run. All the rises are vertical, all the runs are horizontal. So they would have to be using horizontals and verticals to measure this claimed arc length that they're claiming they measure. That is proof of a radius. Do you know what I mean? How they would have to be measuring, they'd have to be using them processes. So how do you use a series of horizontals and a series of verticals to measure? You know, how are you going to measure a curved earth with those? You can't.
I don't know.
It's impossible.
I don't know, but arc of the parallel puts them in dire straits.
Boom, boom. That was dire.
Well, yeah.
It's a dilemma for sure.
No, that was
Can we all
genuinely...
just agree?
Sorry, John, you go ahead. My bad.
Oh, I was getting ready to joke. I was going to say, can we all just agree that straight lines are curved? And that
No.
then we can move on.
Why would we let Brian beg the question of that? He's not biting. Brian's not biting. He's not having it.
Because the globe model is based off flat planes. So it would make things
back to the model again. I'm getting sick of this.
Why isn't anybody picking up what Owen's putting down? He's tried it about 6 times, right? He goes through the motions, but every time he does like the Rumpus does, and he puts on the front page of the book the weasel words that undo every word he says thereafter. But you focus on every word he says thereafter, about the model, about the globe, about the bent tangent, all of that stuff. No, he starts by saying, well, you say it again, Owen. What do you disclaim before you get into this wrangle-dangle? I've watched you do it 6 times so far, or listened to you do it 6 times so far.
Right. It's about how the globe model is based off a flat plane, and it would make it a lot easier if you could think of those straight lines as being curved. It would make it a lot more logical.
Jerry's agreeing with everything you say, but then continuing the discussion. He's just taken it one step beyond your average ball believer who doesn't do that disclaimer. Now, what he's saying, what Arwen is saying is, notwithstanding that the globe requires a flat earth, let's argue about the globe. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, I know. I'm just tired of it.
Yeah, sorry.
Don't apologise. You got away with it 6 times.
Question. Yeah, it's an existence question that he's wanting to argue, but existence is not an argumentative topic. You either have proof of existence or you don't. That's why when they invoke model, it implies there's an existence of proof. That's why that was such a big deal about that word.
Well, this show held up for the whole show.
Yep.
This show held up. This PC held up for the whole show.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can you boil water in your room?
No.
No, you use an oven.
Believe it or not, that was resolved by the guy who bought the PC when he replaced the badly specified graphics card for a lower powered one. A newer, lower powered one. About the same quality, even had the same name, but in the last generation of graphics cards, they haven't really moved the technology on at all. They've just given you software with the new cards and then down-spec'd the cards. So what was a 60 series is now a 70 series. So I've had a 3070, now I've got a 4070. And don't get me wrong, it is a little bit more powerful, but it's considerably less in terms of the wattage that it actually draws. Ergo, it doesn't overheat the entirety of the system and cause the RAM to fall over and the CPU to fall over. It doesn't do that anymore. So from that perspective, I'm actually sat, because it's winter here now and I've got the window open, so it's actually quite cold. But even if the room was sealed up and it was summer, because it was still summer, obviously, when I got the graphics card. It was still boiling hot. It was still 35 degrees C here. And it didn't cook the room because the graphics card isn't pulling 300 watts. It's pulling 160, 170. If you really cane it, 190. But that's not enough to overheat the system. So I'm never sat here boiling my bollocks off anymore, which is great. And as far as stability is concerned, I've spent 12 months learning it. So even though I've had to do it all again over the course of the last week, I've 12 months of learning has meant that I've, with essentially a brand new computer. If you get a brand new computer, you put a brand new clean install of Windows on it. It's like, well, what do I do with it now? Make all the stuff that I use work with it. And that's what I've done for the last week, like it was a new computer. But all of the foibles of hardware issues that I've found, like it not running at stock, I've overcome within the space of a week. And now I'm back at the point where I was before the hard drive failed. That doesn't mean I'm 100% confident that it'll never fall over, far from it. But it means that I'm as confident as could be with 12 months of fiddling with it and a new set of RAM, a new hard drive, 2 in fact, and a new GPU. It's had half the system replaced. But no, it doesn't overheat anymore. And even though it strictly doesn't need them, I just run fans all the time, even though it's not exactly living the dream of having a passive computer that doesn't make any noise. I think I'm better off just running fans like a normal computer would. So I've just gone, well, if this was just a normal computer, it would just have fans running. Let's just run them all the time quietly, like I would with any other computer. And that will hopefully help things. Whether or not it does, I don't know. But yeah, from that point of view, I'm now I've done a show and this is the end of that recording and it's been going on for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm relatively confident because so long as I can squeeze a 2-hour show, or let's say the different way, so long as the PC can remain stable for over 2 hours, I'm content that it can, that it can do a full show. Therefore, if it crashed now, literally now, I'd remux the recording, in other words, salvage it, and then publish it and get on with my day. I wouldn't feel like, oh no, I must now do something. It's like, no, this is a twitchy computer. So long as I can consistently get at least 2 hours out of it, live streaming under high stress, and while we were doing the live stream, the after show, while we have been doing the after show, I ran a game just so it was under stress to try and make it fall over. And it didn't. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm happy. Good. Job's a good one. Hope that answers your question.
I'm glad you're not on fire anymore. That's pretty good.
Yeah, well, with the GPU sitting at 107 degrees and the CPU set at 105 degrees and the RAM sat at 80 degrees, always from the moment you started using the computer, it got really hot in here. Whereas if I look down now, it's 50 on the RAM, 55 on the CPU, 45 on the GPU. Nothing's out of the ordinary. Those are normal, just in average use temperatures. Like I say, previously, I'd be looking there going, oh, God, come on, let's get this recording out of the way because the GPU sat 107 degrees.
Well, there for a long time, I kept asking you if it was designed to run at that. You remember, I thought you were saying it was designed to run at, what was it, 130 degrees Celsius? Or
yeah, well, like, that's the point that silicon starts to decay. So it's about 120. Where you'd worry, excuse me, about silicon is about 120 degrees centigrade. At that point, it starts to degrade. Yeah, 130 C, it's going to die. So yeah, that's the point that you worry. Now, a modern GPU especially will just protect itself and shut down before it ever reaches that point. So I wasn't ever concerned that I was degrading or it was going to break as a result of the heat. The problem is the rest of the system isn't like that, especially the RAM. So if you cook the box that the RAM is in, the RAM obviously gets hotter and it doesn't like being hot, the new DDR5 RAM. So that was always the problem. It was always the RAM. It would be stable and you'd run it and it'd be fine. But as soon as the system ran for 2 or 3 hours, it would heat up and over time the RAM would cook and then it would fall over. All the other components could have done that all day long. The GPU and the CPU could have sat at 107 on the CPU and 107 on the GPU all day long and they would have been fine.
Well, you had it fixed as far as temperature goes. Are you saying the damage to the RAM had already been done by the time that you...
Yeah, the damage to the RAM had already been done. Let me just clear my throat 1 sec. The damage to the RAM had already been done after about 11 months. Same with the main boot drive. Because it's really close to the CPU, it's as close as it can be to the hottest part of the system. So the hard drive has died as a result of just having 11 months at 100C, or the components near it at 100C. Same goes for the RAM. You know, it was sat on the verge of instability at like 79.9C. 85 is the absolute maximum. 80 is what they call max. And that's how it sat all day long. So that was definitely no good for the RAM. The RAM was definitely degrading. And then eventually, after 12 months of that, or almost 11 months, it stopped working. You couldn't get it to post with that RAM anymore. It needed new sticks of RAM or it would have never worked. So it had to have 2 sticks of RAM where it previously had 4, and it couldn't run them at stock speeds or stock voltages. Now, I felt so relieved when the PC guy, because I handed it over to him at one stage, I think it was on Thursday, I just could not get it to work. I just handed it over to him. Now, ironically, when he came to actually turn it on the following day, it just turned on, presumably because it was too hot and it just needed to cool down. But I couldn't figure that out, so I disconnected it all and took it down to him and just said, look, I can't get it stable. So he messed around with it for a day, or maybe a couple of days, I forget. And he said, I can't get it stable at stock voltages. I'm like, yes, that's exactly the conclusion I came to. Now, if you can't, normally with any problem, the simple, first step is just turn it to stock, because you know it will run at stock. Not with this system. It was never like that. It would never run at stock. So I could never get that point where I know how it's supposed to behave when it's running perfectly, because it never ever did. So when the PC guy was like, yeah, I can't get it to run at stock voltages, his solution, right, was to run the automatic overclocker, which just overclocks everything in the system as much as it possibly can. Now, in his cool shop, in the shop window, cool temperatures, running stress tests that lower all the clocks because everything's at full pelt, it managed to just about stay stable and stay on. I'm like, there's no way it's going to do that in normal use. You know, it's not running like a stress test. It's not a synthetic test. It's stuff's loading and it runs up high and fast and then slow, and it needs to have like big swings capable, not just a high load at 100%, because when it does that, it lowers the clocks. So yeah, it might be able to do that with the AI overclocker. But as soon as I brought it home, I was like, I'll try it. So I brought it home, plugged it in, and ran it for about an hour, and then it collapsed. It fell over. And I'm like, yeah, of course it will. You know, it's not like I don't know how this system works. I've had it for a year or over a year. So it was just nice that he'd come to some of the conclusions that I had done through testing. One of which being the most important one: you can't get it stock to stay stable. It's just that simple. The voltages on the RAM are too low. As soon as it heats up, the RAM falls over. So you go, okay, it won't work at stock voltages. So from day one, I was turning up the voltages on the RAM just to keep it stable. But anyway, all of that aside, with all the new components, there isn't the single component, aka GPU, cooking everything else anymore. That's been changed. That's the main component. That was like a £650 component that the guy who bought the PC just dropped on me when it failed, because that did eventually fail, mainly because I was messing around with it. I probably broke it. But in any event, to try and keep it cool, I was fiddling and faffing and changing voltage so much that eventually it did shit the bed completely and die. And he just said, don't do a GoFundMe, I will just replace it. I'm like, okay. And literally 2 days later, a GPU arrived. And then it was a case of ordering the bits to make it work with the case, which took another week. And then from that day forward, in terms of stability of the system, it's been miles better, like 100% better. Not that it's 100% stable, or, you know, as of now, 2.5 hours of show with a high stress game running. I'm happy that this is good now, and I'm not boiling. So yes, the components could do it, but just not all of them. And as a result, the hard drive and memory, which couldn't reach 100C, 80C maximum for both of them eventually failed. GPU just had to be changed because I'd probably broken it fiddling with it, and it was cooking itself for a solid 12 months, and it was too powerful for the system. Now, all of those problems being solved, you would hope that's the end. But every time I say that to my wife, she's like, don't say that, because it will fall over tomorrow, and inevitably it does. So from this point forth, I'm just going to say, I'm not 100% confident it won't fall over again. And in that ambiguity, hopefully it won't ever fall over again. You never know, you look.
Nathan, if I may ask, since you now know all the results of all your tinkering, maybe you're going to approach it completely differently from now on, with these end results on the long run in mind. and basically be a bit more careful and a more reserved how to approach it every time, and not like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make it work even if I have to create some strain here, right? Because if you have to create some strain on your computer, that's when the chaos really starts and the long-term damage.
Yeah, I agree. And normally I am very conservative. I'm not an overclocker. I'm not interested in that. But previously, the balance was always on a tipping point of stability, where to gain extra stability, you had to increase voltage. And by doing so, you introduce more heat, which introduces more instability. So it was always on that tipping point where if you lower the voltage, you lose the stability and it crashes through instability. If you increase the voltage, it overheats and crashes through instability through heat. So it didn't matter what it did.
Just had incompatible. Had an incompatible efficiency arcs. One just couldn't work with the other. And that's been the whole problem the whole time.
Yes.
Not when you tinker with it, it's been the efficiency arcs of the hardware do not line up.
Correct.
Right. And in my experience, whenever that happens with my computer assemblies, it's simply, okay, the hardware doesn't work. Like, software barely even comes into it when my computer is assembled, when I pick the parts. Like, if it's not stable right away, then tinkering is never going to fix it. That's my personal experience.
Absolutely correct. So from day one when this arrived, from day one I was like, oh, they've given me a better spec GPU. That's happy days. Great. Wonderful. But from day one, I could not get it to be stable. It wouldn't work. Like, literally, the moment I turned it on, the day I got it, the fans ramped up to 100%. It hit 100C, and it stayed there, and eventually, after a while, fell over. There was nothing I could do, ever. And like you say, it's like fiddling around with your your gas and air mixture in an engine when your radiator's too small. What's the point? What, make it a bit more lean? Yeah, it's not going to help. Just getting the efficiency arc to line up better and getting more efficiency out of the fuel with your engine, if the thing can't cool itself, is a fool's endeavour. You're never going to win. And that was me just fighting temperature non-stop. I'm not doing that anymore.
The hardware is not the spec. It's not properly engineered, basically, with the components.
Well, in a time where we're all going through an energy crisis, everyone's moaning about high bills, Intel decide that to beat AMD, they're just going to blast their CPUs with as much power as humanly possible. So if you track the last 10 years, their CPUs are like 90 watts, 100 watts, and if you overclock them, 190 watts. Don't get me wrong. But now, out of the box, a box standard CPU from Intel pulls minimum 300 watts. You're like, what? And then you put it on this particular type of overclocker's motherboard, which the system was also spec'd with badly because it's massive. We'll take that 300 watts and go, I'm going to give you a 400 indefinitely. You're like, the cooler can cope with 150 watts. So the CPU and motherboard say 400. And that's what it gives it. So, like I say, that I could figure out. I can power limit the CPU without too much trouble. It just obviously affects performance. Go on.
Can't just declock them.
I did. At one stage, I'd turned both the CPU and GPU down to the point where they were almost crapping out. You know, it's like running an engine so lean that it almost explodes. That's what I was doing. I was turning the power limits and the voltages down on both the CPU and GPU to the point where they were so underclocked and so undervolted that, you know, it still didn't make any difference because one component, the GPU, cooked the system as soon as it came on. That doesn't do that anymore. Instead of a 300-watt GPU, which, like I say, is always going to pull that sort of amount of power through its 250-watt cooler, now it's got a 220-watt GPU, and on average it's pulling under 190, so it's perfectly within the realms of the cooler, so it never goes above maybe 80 watts if it's absolutely caning it. 80C, sorry. But that's perfect. That's exactly what most people's GPU sits at.
But I mean, those overclocked pieces of hardware, that's hazardous. I mean, that's just bad. Yeah, what do you call it? Bad service, basically. Because
not really. They put it on the chip.
People are their computers out much easier.
No, they put it on the box. It says on the box, long and short-term power, 125 and 225 on this chip. But the motherboard manufacturer ignores the limits that Intel set and just set it to unlimited, which, like I say, maybe 400 is a bit of an exaggeration, but it's knocking on 400 watts that it can pull indefinitely. But that's because the motherboard's decided to do that. Well, the motherboard's a very good motherboard if you're an overclocker, which I'm not. But I'm glad it's there, but for the fact that I could control voltages like an overclocker would, I would never have been able to get the CPU specifically stable, which is the same one it came with. Well, learning how to overclock so I can undervolt without it running into instability is what I've now done, because the CPU is the same CPU. It still wants 400 watts at stock. Well, I've limited to 140 watts and a 0.4 volt offset. So it's like very, very much conservative, as you put it. Like, be conservative. Yeah, my 400 watt chip's getting 140 watts, Arwin. I assure you, that's about as conservative as it can be.
If the motherboard automatically overrides with an overclocking like that, that's a bad setting. Like, it should never have that setting.
Yeah, that's right.
You should leave the option for overclockers to undo that and set it to unlimited. It shouldn't be factory setting set to unlimited. That's ridiculous.
No, that's right. But that's what you get on a K-SKU chip if you stick it in an Asus motherboard. Now, a lot of the people reviewing it would agree with you, but they've essentially got three levels. One is the stock parameters that Intel give. One is auto, in quotes, which is the motherboard says give it as much power as it possibly wants. And then there's overclocked, which is even more, which is what my tech guy did to get the computer to just come back on and go stable. He had to overclock it. I'm like, yeah, you do have to overclock it, but then you've got to limit the power and find out where the voltage is right. So you've got a nice, efficient curve.
He overclocked it.
Not me, him, yeah, but I turned that off within 24 hours of getting it home because it just...
So,
go on.
So
what?
He's an overclocking mother clucker.
Yeah, no. Typically, yes, he's an overclocking mother clucker, but he ultimately said to me, don't overclock anything. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm undervolting stuff to keep the heat out. He is very much against people overclocking their systems. Run it all stock is his attitude. But in this instance, literally, here's my broken computer. What can you do to make it stable? I'll have a look. He had a look. The answer, give it more voltage. That was the answer. All overclocking is giving it more voltage and turning the clocks up. Well, it's not the clocks being turned up that made it stable. It was turning up the voltage compared to stock. That's what he did to get it stable. Now, I've definitely not done that.
But that's like saying my car is flooded. Let's put some nitroglycerin in it.
Not exactly. No, let me explain why no. Because at that point, what's actually happened, the reason he's managed to get it stable, because he's then run it, is it stable stress test. What that does is it pulls all 400 watts that I'm describing. However, it turns the clocks down because it can't sustain 5.2 gigahertz at 400 watts with all cores, all 16 of them working. So it still turns the clocks down. So it can sustain a lower clock speed under full load under a stress test. But as I was trying to explain, as soon as you've got a game running, but then you load another piece of software, well, that will go from a low clock speed to a high clock speed to load the piece of software and back down again really quickly. Well, that is what causes it to crash, especially quickly if it's overclocked. Anyway.
Oh, so now you're the overclocking mother clucker.
No. I have no desire to I'd love to have a water-cooled PC in a different room and then not care about the electricity bill and turn everything up so I could get 5% more. No, I don't care. I don't want 5% more out of the system by running 400 watts into it. I don't care. I just want it to be stable. That's all I've ever wanted from day one. Now, a normal person would say, just turn it all to stock. Yeah, that won't work. So I've got to learn how to get it stable. Now, as far as I can tell, that is true for everybody who has tried to use this new platform with any decent spec of hardware. That's the price you pay. And one of the reviewers was like, don't expect to just buy new computer hardware and it just work. It's not like that anymore. This stuff doesn't just work. You've got to look after yourself and make sure you get it to work because no one else is going to look after you if it don't work. And it don't, as I found out. So it's back into FAFO. Fuck around and find out how to get it to work.
You got a tech guy though. He was looking after you.
No, his attitude is turn it all to stock. Okay, I've turned it all to stock, and now it will not turn on at all. That's what I told him. Yeah, it's all stock. It won't even turn on. I'm not even kidding. That is literally what happened. He had fiddled with it, turned it to stock, and again, in the computer shop, it came on. This is a different day, not the one I've just described. Prior to that, on Monday or Tuesday, I go in, he sets it all to stock, I bring it home, and literally, I couldn't even get it to give me a picture. As soon as I plugged it in, it failed. I'm like, it won't work. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't know what to do. He's like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? I did all the troubleshooting. Eventually, I did get it to post, but I couldn't get it stable. So that's why I ended up taking it in on the Thursday. So like I say, at stock, it wouldn't even turn on. It was nuts. Now, when I happened to talk to the guys who originally built it, because the power button's broken and I still haven't got a replacement. So I've asked the manufacturer, they haven't sent it, they said that they would send it. So I chased up the original builder. Total pricks. I mean, at the end of my email exchange, I'm like, I'm going to expose you with my YouTube channel. And his attitude was like, your exposure of our company will have as much gravity as Flat Earth does. That was his attitude. This is me, a customer, end user, I should say, because Paul actually paid for it. But the end user of the product, no wonder Paul, he said at one stage, I'm never using them again. Total pricks. Inside Tech, these manufacturer of the original PC. I'm chasing them up for a new power button. He's telling me how I've broken the PC because I've overclocked it. When I gave him a list of the things that had been changed on the PC. It's like, I don't know if he interpreted that to me to say, I want you to pay for these things. Far from it. They've already been paid for and replaced. But I'm like, look, man, this thing's had 50. I'm sure, did I post this letter in the Skype chat?
Hold on. You're telling me that he said you overclocked it when it was already designed overclocked?
It's an overclocking system, an overclocking motherboard, a K SKU specifically designed to be overclocked CPU, and they, not me, overspec'd the GPU with a specifically overclocking with OC in the name GPU. That's correct. He accused me of overclocking it. He then went on to explain that they had set specific undervolts prior to sending it to me, and that I changed them and overclocked it. Not true. I didn't get into the wrangle-dangle of arguing with him. I didn't care. I'm like, I just want my power button. It's broken. But this guy was literally into blaming me. He also pointed out no warranty. Wait, what are you talking about? It's a £5,000 machine. What are you talking about? No, your man told me no warranty. Now, I actually know the circumstance. When there was a fault with it originally, they said send it back. You're like, you're joking? What, put it back in a crate and stick it on a freight that'll cost £100 for you to get it back and then send it back in exactly the same state? Paul was like, no, you need to help in a different way. Can't you be a bit less awkward? They're like, no. This is on day one of having it. And Paul was like, just get your man at the shop to cover any warranty issues that it has. I'll cover any costs that he has. And that's presumably what he told them. His local PC guy will cover any warranty issues that he has with the equipment. That doesn't mean no warranty when you actually have a new power button requirement, which I did. But that's what he told me, no warranty. Like, you've overclocked it. Like, no, you're joking. Now, the reality is they had a GPU shortage, or the very tail end of a GPU shortage when they overspec'd the GPU. Okay, it wasn't what was ordered. It's caused the computer to cook. Legitimately, where there's blame, there's a claim. But I'm not trying to blame him. I'm trying to chase him for a power button, something menial, probably worth £1. But no, he wants to blame me for overclocking the machine. Like, at the end of it, I was like, no wonder Paul will never buy from you again. He's bought Paul, the guy who bought this PC, has bought 2 or 3 passive computers from this company. And since buying my machine, he's just turned around, because he's presumably never had any real issues until now, and he's just turned around and said, I'll never use them again. So he's since, and I know he has, bought an identical computer to mine, but with recommendations from me on what CPU and GPU to put in it, not the ones it came with. And presumably he's very happy with it, right? Like I am now, or will be once this new hard drive settled in and I forget about all the issues I've had. But he hasn't bought it from them. You know, he bought it from a different supplier. And you're like, way to piss away £5,000 worth of custom, dickhead. Anyway, enough of my moans about Inside Tech. Didn't get my power button.
Some people don't care though, Nathan. Sorry.
Yeah. They didn't care.
I'm just saying that's horrible. Inside tech, I'll never buy from them. That just sounds like a horrible experience.
Yeah. Well, at the point that started to be a useless experience 11 months ago, Paul, who's a lot better off than I and can make such decisions on the spot, went, I will never buy from you again. And I don't ever want to deal with you again. I won't chase you for anything. I'll just never call you again. But you won't ever get a penny out of me. That was his attitude. And you think, I'd love to be rich enough to do that. Just, vote with your feet, but mean it. The poor guy has to go back to the original supplier and go, it doesn't work, please help me. And they go, no warranty.
Like, was you talking to the president or the chairman of the board of directors in charge? Like, I don't get it.
I don't think it's like that with companies like that. My parents used to run a very similar operation. Theirs was called Daco, and they used to do networking and computers and programming and sell to schools. And I would imagine they were a very similar outfit in terms of size to Inside Tech. Now, I could be wrong, but the website would suggest that they're a similar company size to my parents' company back in the 80s and 90s when they had a computer shop. Not massive. It's not got a board of directors. It's got a couple of owners and probably about 10 staff.
So it's basically the size of the marketplace now has grown so much that rip-off artists like them can get away with treating their customers like crap because there's so many customers.
Probably not. They're probably generally quite all right with their customers, and most of the stuff that they build is probably fine. Now, based on their website, the maximum GPU you could spec on this machine was the one below what it came with. That was the maximum their own website would allow. So when it came with the next one up, which pulls more power and creates more heat in a passive system, that's probably because of a GPU shortage. That's what I would have expected the reason to be. It took a long time to build and there was a GPU shortage. And then it came with a better GPU than it was supposed to have, which you'd think would be great, right? Well, the test of a company isn't when things are going well and everyone's got their computers and they're happy. Because like I say, Paul had bought several computers off that company without issue. But when there is an issue, like a GPU shortage causing you to have to overspec a PC that's passive, that then overheats, it's how much responsibility you take as a company that's the measure of how good you are. So I'm sure they're not terrible rip-off merchants that are ripping off all their customers. But when it comes to something like this, you can take one of two roads as a supplier and go, oh, we've got to really, dig deep and, bite our tongue and just deal with this horrible situation that might end up being less profitable for that particular sale. But they'd have retained a customer that would have run another system off them and it would have easily covered the cost of just dealing with the issue and giving a bit of hands-on support. But they weren't interested. And you're like, well, okay, well, that's why you lost your customer. It doesn't make them shits or rip-off merchants. It's just, like I say, the worst-case scenario is the overall measure of a company, isn't it?
No. This wasn't over the GPU. This was over a power button.
In this instance, it was over a power button, yeah.
Right. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. But there we go. Such is life. I'll chase Monster Labo up because they are abroad, and I have left it a good solid week and a half, 10 days maybe, since I last contacted Monster Labo, who did say, "Look, I was away. I will get to sending you a power button." They just haven't. But it's like, I used to work at a manufacturer of electronics. I did not want that's me, the end user, contacting me, the manufacturer. I didn't want me, as I am with this hat of the great unwashed end user. I shouldn't be calling the manufacturer. Do you know what I mean? That's not how it works. But I am, and I'll chase them, and fine, whatever.
Yeah. I'm glad it's stable now and you're not melting.
Yeah, not melting is the best part of it. Not being boiling, yeah. Not having this something that's probably radiating at about 50 to 60 degrees C, i.e. the case is too hot to touch. Therefore, it's radiating off enough heat to boil me and the room. It also cooked the projector. Because the room was getting 10 to 15 degrees hotter, the projector was overheating. That eventually cooked its bulb. That was another 200 quid or whatever that cost. So it did cause quite a lot of problems in that 10 months or 11 months. Not just inside the computer, but it caused a lot of boiling bodies and boiling electronics and a lot of hair loss.
Bald now.
No, but I'm getting there. I'm sure this hasn't helped.
Well, saying if you're getting there, then I'm still in danger. I thought I was out of the woods being 43. You know, it was in the safe zone. Wasn't going to go bald. So
yeah, that's what I thought.
Like that.
I thought if I could keep it till I was about 40, I'd be all right. And then loads of YouTubers, one specifically, one car YouTuber, Car Wizard, maybe the same age, maybe slightly older, maybe slightly younger, I don't know. But he, over the space of about 5 years in his 40s, just lost all of his hair. I'm like, oh, God. So you're not out of the woods when you get to 40 then, as it slowly thins out. Just getting old, though, isn't it? By the time you're in your 40s, if you haven't got married and had kids, close your ears, Arwin. Then, you know, I don't necessarily need to be beautifully groomed and handsome anymore at mid-40s age. You know, I've got a wife and kids, and as long as my kids are well fed and beautiful, who cares? It doesn't really bother me because I don't need to attract a mate anymore. You know, I'm already married. Not that I don't want to look beautiful for my wife, but other people, as long as she says, oh yeah, you look great. Whether or not she means it is a different matter. I'm sure she does. But I don't care. Everybody else looking at me going, oh, he's looking a bit old now. It's like, yeah, I am. Oh, well.
Well, I'm not worried about my looks. I'm worried about it because I've made fun of my two brothers who went bald early in life. I've made fun of them for about the last 20, 30 years. I just don't want them to, you know, be able to give it back to me. That's all I'm worried about.
Sure. Yeah, but I don't mind. Like I say, at this point, it's like, yeah, well, if I'm losing my hair in my 40s, I've gone through the substantial part of my life with hair. So who cares? It's like, I say, it doesn't really matter. You're just growing old at that point. It's not like, oh, look, he's like, I'm sure Joe Rogan lost his hair really young, and therefore he's gone through the majority of his adult life without hair from, you know, through his 30s, for the sake of argument. I don't know. I haven't paid that much attention to Joe Rogan's hair. But it means that there's been a substantial portion of his younger life without hair. Once you get past 40, does it matter? It's like that's normal aging at that point. No one's going to point at you and go, look at you, slaphead. No, because you're just getting old.
Are you saying that what the Neil deGrasse Tyson attacking him, his hair loss with gravity, you know, trying to tie it in with gravity, would have worked probably 20 years before on him?
Yeah, exactly.
Like if he was a younger man.
Precisely. I think if he'd have done that he was doing that to get his attention and make him pay attention to the example that he was giving Tyson, that is, when talking to Joe Rogan. Now, had it have been when Joe Rogan was very sensitive about it, it might have got his attention. But it just went straight over his head, water off a duck's back, didn't have any impact whatsoever, did it?
No, but I think he kind of twitched a little bit. I seen a reaction, but it wasn't enough that it threw him off. It actually made him kind of bite down harder.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, maybe we could do some more Joe Rogan, because he's an interesting character. The more I watch Joe Rogan, the more he fascinates me, if I'm honest. Because I'm not like going to pretend he's a major genius, but he's insightful enough to ask some decent questions. He doesn't necessarily just toe the line completely with mainstream. You can tell by the questions he's asking. He's obviously open to being influenced by mainstream. That's why he's got such mainstream guests as Neil deGrasse Tyson. But it doesn't necessarily make me recoil. Is that the right word from what he says? Is that the right word? Recoil? He doesn't repel me like Tyson does.
He when he said that and took control of the conversation, Neil said, what was it? why are you getting so defensive, and like started going through how he was hunched over and acting weak, and started like giving him advice. Like I thought that was probably, because he's talking to a subject matter expert. They're talking about the field of the subject matter expert, and he's got him in a defensive position. That should never happen.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to getting back into it now. I feel, as you can probably tell from me chit-chatting now, and getting all that crap of computer nonsense off my back, which I'm sure won't be the last. I can get back into actually doing some videos and stuff. How did it go in Discord today? Very little said from Discord.
Mr. B early this morning.
One more time.
Oh, I was saying, I found that Vsauce episode where Vsauce talks about flat Earth.
From like 2007.
Yeah, it was. I wonder how many times he's going to use a flat plane in that.
Quite a few. If it's the one, is Earth actually flat? This is the one where he describes the plane of gravity increasing as you go towards the outside edge of the disc. He uses quite a lot of gravity references in it.
You gotta build fast. Cement drawing. All right, let's see. English side
so,
ruined.
yeah.
Must
Like,
use French instructions.
He's talking about, Vsauce. Centripetal and centrifugal forces on a merry-go-round, and tries to, tie it together like that.
Centripetal, not centripetal.
Okay. Did we want to get into this? I could do with actually testing that it works. So just tell me if you can hear him.
Michael here. In 2003, researchers did the measurements and found that Kansas is, in fact, literally flatter than a pancake. Of course, the Earth is not flat, the Earth is round. Otherwise, travelers would be falling off the edge all the time. Right? Wrong. If the Earth was not...
Seem to have it coming in through two different distinct lines at the same time. That's not good. Wonderful.
Uh-oh. Are you having trouble?
It's not that I'm in trouble. It's just that the OBS has got two... On my audio mixer, it's got my mixer, which comes in on mic and aux. That's the line in OBS. But also desktop audio, which is PC on my desk. But I don't. Some people use OBS as a desk. I don't. I've got a separate one, and therefore I just want one line to go into OBS, and it's got two. So I just need to figure that out for a second. I don't know how. We'll comment yourselves, and then I'll figure that out.
Oh, it's in OBS? That's not hard.
You what?
In OBS.
Yeah.
So it's a settings issue. You don't even have to go to settings. You just in the mixer, right? The mixer is the audio thingy. You can just like turn it off.
Okay.
Turn the volume off. Desktop audio.
Okay.
That should fix it.
I turn it off, but just mute it.
Right.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll just mute it. Let's just see if that works. I can't tell what the error was, but I can tell there would have been an error when this was playing a second ago.
Not a ball shape, but was instead a flat disc, like this plate. Well, with the right density and thickness, living in the middle could feel pretty normal. But as you moved toward the...
Okay, we can all hear that. I don't necessarily want to cover this video, by the way. I'm sorry if anybody's
Sounded just fine. No double sound or anything.
Was the double sound before? Well, no, you wouldn't know. It was going through OBS with double sound, so it was presumably on the recording, but we'll find that out at a later date. Okay, that's it. I just wanted to check that was all okay.
Can you believe that video's got 35 million views according to YouTube?
Yeah.
Hey, John, have you ever watched like an Andrew Tate stream on Rumble? Ever seen the chat?
No.
You should check it out. Like, that's weird, man. There's so many people there. It's crazy. They just like to pile on certain things. It's probably algorithmically like supported so that those types of people typically find their way to this sort of thing. Right? The algorithmic love that Nathan always talks about we don't get. Well, there are people that do get it. They do. There's so many people there. It's just like when you watch the chat, you have to like read a sentence in about a quarter of a second before it flashes out of sight.
Well, yeah, but what's the point of having a chat if you can't read anything that, you know, it just doesn't seem, you'd have to pick like one person out.
You can set this chat still to just read something. Then you have to scroll back. I said a whole bunch of things in the chat there. Because Tate was basically just talking a lot of shit, as he apparently always does. Oh, you gotta get rich right now. You gotta do it now. No long waits. No. Like, okay. That's
he's one of those get rich
advice, but okay.
Yes, Andrew Tate's basically manipulated a load of young boys into get-rich-quick schemes. Isn't he still in jail in Bulgaria or wherever it is?
No,
I don't think so. Or if he is, then he's got a pretty good streaming room.
I wouldn't call him a manipulator. I just think that he's kind of providing them what they want. He's not lying to them. You know what I mean? I wouldn't call him a dishonest. He's actually pretty smart. He's a smart fella. Very smart.
Maybe. If you say so. But that's going to be where I round out.
Text for that.
You what?
He doesn't sound very smart to me, but I mean, he is doing things. Definitely. He is ambitious. But, I mean, smart? I don't know.
You'd have to call him smart.
If I tell someone they can get rich right now, all they have to do is buy my book, right?
How fast?
I guess that doesn't technically make me a liar, but it would mean that I would have to know that they will get rich just from reading my book, which, yeah, that would make me a liar.
With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams. Hope you're smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!